energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. This is a public service announcement. Anyone dressed in androgynous outfits. This is a sweet and friendly reminder that you are safe here. Show off your binder.
The red light burns on air. John Justice takes the line. Star Wars on the speaker shelf and NASCAR on his mind. Cold Zima in a paper cup. He smiles and starts the show. Freedom Friday on the dial, where the loud opinions go. Whoa. If you got truth, bring it in. If you got fire, let it spin. Don't hold back now, say it clear. They're listening right here. Freedom Friday, raise your voice. Freedom Friday, make your choice. John Justice, open mic. Say it now, say it right. Freedom Friday, let it fly. Freedom Friday, reach the sky. Call the show and tell him why. Freedom Friday. All lights.
John Justice, Twin Cities News, fantastic talk radio host.
Hundreds on the pavement, wheel lines in the dawn.
You're listening to the John Justice Show House Band, the AI Overlords. The show starts at 6 a.m. Presented by American Experiment.
Does crack cocaine make you act any differently? No. Is it safer than alcohol? Probably.
At the country club pier, they're passing notes in blue, talking party colors like they're overdue. The old brass on the wall keeps asking what went wrong, but the new crew smiles soft and hums a borrowed song. Now the table's turning slow with a polished, patient glow. Everybody in the room feels the courage start to grow. Communism Kool-Aid, sipping by the poolside. Communism Kool-Aid, say it with a straight face. Voters in the cool shade, passing cups around the parade. Communism Kool-Aid, and nobody knows what to say. Hillary's by the phone with a careful, worried look, reading every headline like a line she didn't book. She sees the banner shift, she hears the easy cheer, and the whole old playbook starts to fog up in the rear. Now the table's turning slow with a polished, patient glow. Everybody in the room feels the current start to grow. Communism Kool-Aid, sipping by the poolside. Communism Kool-Aid, say it with a straight face. Voters in the cool shade, passing cups around the parade. Communism Kool-Aid, and nobody knows what to say. The marina keeps on shining while the arguments roll on. One side calls it progress, one side says the game is gone, and the tide keeps washing in like it owns the whole boardwalk. Smile State magazine bright while the dinner circles tall. Communism Kool-Aid, sipping by the poolside. Communism Kool-Aid, say it with a straight face. Voters in the cool shade, passing cups around the parade. Communism Kool-Aid, and nobody knows what to say. On the surface, heavy underneath, gentle as a summer wave rolling underneath the teeth. Easy on the surface, heavy underneath, gentle as a summer wave rolling underneath the teeth.
Oh, hell yeah.
He speaks through static waves at dawn, a voice that lingers when night is gone. Twin cities hum with stories spun. John Justice rides the rising sun. Zima fizz in a plastic cup. Star Wars dreams keep lifting him up. Costco aisles is sacred ground where neon shadows spin around. embark on journeys in the stars, a galaxy of hope and scars. With every word, a world takes flight. Justice writes in the cosmic night. The microphone is sacred bright, cuts through the noise, ignites the fight. In his fortress of fluorescent beams, he crafts reality from dreams. Zima fizz in a plastic cup. Star Wars dreams keep lifting him up. Costco aisles is sacred ground, where neon shadows spin around. The airwaves pulse with truths untold. A rebel's heart, unsold. In the airglow, he takes his stand. Justice moves with a steady hand.
I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
We've all seen him yelling in a megaphone, but he don't have a lot to say about his Wisconsin license. He'll just say these 3 words like he says to his girls, you gotta kiss the tip. Sha-la-la-la-la-la, don't look now, his pants are on the ground. He's saying, kiss the tip. Sha-la-la-la-la-la, my oh my, this guy ain't too shy to tell you, kiss the tip.
Good morning, John Justice. I'm all excited about Freedom Friday and to hear Nicole Kidman. It's my
John, you're a
favorite
total
part of the
rock star.
Friday
Love you so much
because
and
I
love the
love
talk
when I
radio
go to the
audience
theater
all throughout Minnesota.
and
You do
watch
such
a
a great.
movie and then she comes on. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for this new format. I love it. Have a great day and have a great show.
If it's big, you don't touch it. That's what I was taught.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy.
Oh, hell yeah.
John, you're a total rock star. Love you so much and love the talk radio audience all throughout Minnesota. You do such a great job. I'm a big fan.
I think they vastly underestimate human horniness.
He speaks through static waves at dawn, a voice that lingers when night is gone. Twin cities hum with stories spun. John Justice rides the rising
It's hot.
sun.
It's very hot.
Zima fizz in a plastic cup. Star Wars dreams keep lifting him up. Costco aisles is sacred ground, where neon shadows spin around.
I, as a heterosexual male, like the smell of women.
Tune in to laugh at these morons.
We come to this place for magic, to cry, to care.
Here's the thing about women. Women are insane.
All of us. That indescribable feeling we get.
Yes, queens.
And we go somewhere we've never been before.
It's a bold strategy,
Not just
Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Somehow reborn. Together. Sound that I can feel. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
You're fascinating to talk.
Our heroes feel like the best part of us. And stories feel perfect and powerful. Because here, they are.
I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
Get it started. started in here.
And welcome to another Freedom Friday in the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment. I, of course, am your host, John Justice, and I'm glad that you are with us this morning. We have Isaac producing the show today as he continues to monitor the production. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning.
He loves Friday. He loves Freedom Friday so much that he requested that while Devin produces the show, that he still get to come in every Friday to partake in all of the freedom.
It's true.
We have some special things lined up this morning. If you were listening at the start of the parody replays, you probably heard something brand new for Freedom Friday. If not, we'll play that again coming up right around 7 o'clock this morning when we have, hopefully, all of our guests in studio on the sofa and the comfy chairs of the American Experiment studio. We have Katherine Johnson. She'll be joining us a little bit later on. Max Reimer, your representative, should be joining us right around 6:30 this morning. And also, RNC Committeeman A.K. Kamara, all in studio, plus your on and off topic blasts all morning long here on the show. We got a ton of news to dive into. We're certainly going to get the opinion of our Freedom Friday guests of the primary results. And now that we're heading into the general election, we have audio from Peggy Flanagan to share. I did not anticipate that this election would be as entertaining as I now see that it is going to be. We are going to be one of the spotlights for mainstream media in this general election cycle. We talked about this at length yesterday. The media is going to be looking for compelling storylines. They do every single election cycle. They do every single day. So it doesn't mean that it's the most consequential races impacting the nation as a whole. Certainly impactful for us here in Minnesota, but it does make for really good programming for mainstream media. I bring this up because Peggy Flanagan went and made the rounds on some of the national news outlets. She was talking with CNN. She was talking with MS Now. She is clearly not ready for prime time. It's one thing when you are engaging in a primary fight with somebody within your own party, and you have a very specific line of attack relating to that individual, and you're appealing to your own voters. That's one thing. Now she has to go up against Michelle Tafoya. Michelle Tafoya, a candidate being for lack of a better way to describe her, a more moderate Republican candidate based on some of her views. She is going to face a tough challenge. And we already see that within her media appearances, she's just, as I mentioned, she is not ready for prime time. I'm here for it. I can't wait to share these clips with you during the show today as we get through a host of other news. We have updates on the flock of cameras to get to, the scooter takeover in Minneapolis. There are moves to suppress that from happening again. I'll tell you how, and a lot of stories, especially this hour. Your money, new ways that your money is being wasted. I know it's not great Freedom Friday material, but I need to get to it anyways because it's important. A couple of items we have not had the chance to dive into this week on the show. So I'm really excited, and I'm glad you're with us. Remember, you can watch the show at MN Think Tank on X, also Facebook and YouTube at Center of the American Experiment. You can listen live, and I encourage you to download the MixLR app. It's completely free. Just search for American Experiment and John Justice. You'll find it there. The podcasts are posted right there on the app at exactly the same place where you listen to the show live every single day. And of course, the podcasts are also available up on all the major podcast platforms. Throughout the show this morning on Freedom Friday, as I mentioned, your on and off topic comments, leave us a blast at 612-584-4565. Many of you already have, so let's get to some of your thoughts this morning on a Freedom Friday.
Hi, John. This is Amy. Happy Freedom Friday to you and all of the crew there. I just wanted to say that I thought it would be really fun if you did have Becca Thompson on a Freedom Friday. I think she would be great. I think it would go off the rails, and I would find it very entertaining. So I hope you do consider that sometime in the future.
No.
Thanks. Have a great day.
We absolutely will have Becca Thompson, who we had in last week on the show. I think it was on Wednesday. We'll certainly have her back on the show. And we did, she and I did talk about her coming on a Freedom Friday. She was unfamiliar with Freedom Friday. So I thought, well, you know what? Maybe she can tune in today and get a little vibe of Freedom Friday, so she understands kind of what she's getting into. But I have no doubt she'd be able to hold her own. I had so much fun on X yesterday. Can I just tell you? So I'm prepping the show, and Becca Thompson had posted a fairly, a hot take regarding the Peggy Flanagan and Michelle Tafoya Senate race, basically saying that her expectation was, and I'm paraphrasing, her expectation was that Tafoya is going to trounce Peggy Flanagan. And as a matter of fact, because of that, it'll probably bring about a lot of votes for Lisa Damuth as well, sweeping her into election. And I just cannot. You have whatever opinion you want to have. It's fine. I do not understand the we're throwing our hands up in the air Republicans who just think that there's no way the GOP can win elections. Why bother? There's too much fraud. There's too much corruption. And so why even bother? Never going to happen. I can't. It's an immature defeatist attitude. And it drives me nuts. You do you. If that's your opinion, that's fine. I just ardently disagree. I do. If you're going to go that route to be that defeatist, then why bother even posting on X? Why bother even commenting? Why bother sharing your voice? Just go find something else to do if you've gone and given up. Anyway, so I did what I typically don't do, and I responded unsolicited to somebody who was commenting on Becca's post, and this just went into a long thread. I was having so much fun. As Rush Limbaugh used to say, and he's right, more fun than a human being should be allowed to have here on the John Justice Show.
Hey, John. Tom's here. Happy Freedom Friday. Say, funny story. I woke up to the sound of communist Kool-Aid in my head. Question for you, though. What's it taste like? And is it by chance red-colored?
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Communism Kool-Aid tastes like iron. That's what it tastes like. That song has not grabbed on the way that I hoped. Can I just say that? I think the song is awesome. And as a matter of fact, it is an earworm to the nth degree. Both my wife and I have been walking around going, she's like, I can't stop humming Communism Kool-Aid. This was the first time that Isaac had a chance to hear Communism Kool-Aid. So, yeah. I do have an edit of it because somebody had said, the song's too slow and it's too long. It's like 2 minutes. Like, come on. What's going on here? What are you doing over there?
Adjusting my mic.
Oh, okay. You can turn it. You can turn it off before you start adjusting it.
No, right? I'm sorry. I thought I was commenting on that. Going off.
I love giving Isaac a hard time. I have to forget the people that haven't ever worked in radio before. That's on me. Yeah. It's just like, if you're going to be a little on a production meeting, if you're going to be doing anything with the equipment, shut it off before you start doing that. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go silent now.
Maybe maybe you should do that. So, all right. A friend of the show had reached out to me and he asked if he could leave a blast for his father. And I said, absolutely, especially on a Freedom Friday. So let's share this with you this morning.
This is a shout out for my dad, who after a long career in state government is finally retiring. I want to just say that I love you, Dad. I'm proud of you. You're a great provider, and I hope this next chapter in your life is a great time for you. Love you. Have a great day.
Well, and congratulations and happy retirement as well. And hope your dad heard that or gets caught up on the podcast. Remember, you can leave a blast at any point throughout the show this morning. That number is 612-584-4565. And you can also email me, john.justice@americanexperiment.org.
Hi, John. BJ from St. Michael.
Hey, BJ.
Since I apparently am the only person advocating this position, as a registered Republican,
in the state of Minnesota. Yes, I'm one of those rare breeds. Am I going to vote for Michelle Tafoya? Probably. But she's a rhino. Is she better than Tina Smith? Sure. But that doesn't mean are we giving away our morals here? I mean, being pro-abortion is being pro-abortion. None of the other blasters seem to care about that. If you give me a Democrat candidate who is pro-life running against Michelle Tafoya, I'd vote for the Democrat. That's how big of an issue it is. I apparently am the only one, but the only one willing to give you a blast, I guess. I don't know. It's not so cut and dry for me.
So you're not the only one, because I've heard from other people who have shared similar comments. And again, you do whatever you feel is best for you, right? I'll just share with you my opinion on the issue, because we probably share the same view on abortion. That being said, are we giving away our morals if you vote for Michelle Tafoya? In my opinion, no. First off, she's vying for the Senate seat. The abortion issue is now a state issue. So she's not going to have any say in the matter. She's not going to be any sort of deciding vote, more than likely. Okay, I can't imagine anything happening at the federal level. Again, we've kicked the issue of abortion back to the states. So it's not like she is going to have any say or any vote in lessening or making it even easier for babies to be aborted. And to not vote for Michelle Tafoya on that issue, and again, this is not an endorsement. This is just me trying to help you through the situation, because based off of your blast, it sounded like you were a bit conflicted. But to not go and vote for Michelle Tafoya is, and I do believe this when this happens, if you just stay out of it, well, you are giving the opposition, you are giving Tina Smith the opportunity here, or, you are giving Peggy Flanagan the opportunity here to win, wherein on the issues on a national level that they would be voting on, which wouldn't be abortion, don't go handing that over to the far radical leftist, because on most of the other issues, Michelle Tafoya probably agrees with you. So I cannot understand an individual who would throw away their vote on something that is not going to have any sort of ramifications on the issue that you care about. And like I said, you are not the only one that has shared that view. But you do whatever you need to do to feel comfortable. I personally do not feel that way. The easier way to say it, and I don't consider it this way, but for some people, it's the lesser of two evils. And so, what is it you want? To stick to your morals regarding the issue of abortion and not vote for somebody who has a different view other than you, even though they have no control over the issue whatsoever, or make sure that, hey, this individual doesn't agree with me on this, but it's not going to matter, but I am still going to vote for him because on all the other issues, we do agree. So I hope that helps, because like I said, I certainly could tell the conflict that was in your voice in that. And thank you so much.
Hey, I just want to leave a blast because of that previous blast about the guy saying, oh yeah, I guess we'll plug our nose and vote for Michelle Tafoya because abortion or whatever, but he'd rather vote for a Democrat that was pro-life. Seriously, that's where you're going to draw the line? To throw away everything else just because somebody might be pro-life? What's wrong with you, dude?
By the way, where would the mythical pro-life Democrat come from? Is there any Democrat in America that is pro-life. There may maybe I'm not aware. Isaac, you aware of any Democrat in America that's pro-life?
No, and certainly not Peggy Flanagan.
Yeah, that is 100% true. I cannot wait to share the audio that we have with her. By the way, Whew. Not ready for. She tosses Governor Dimwalls under the bus so hard. I don't think. Yeah, he's flat as a pancake.
I can't tell you how hard I laughed at that when I saw that yesterday.
It's just insane. I'm holding off on it. I know I'm teasing, guys, but I'm holding off on it because I want to wait until we get some of our Freedom Friday guests in studio this morning.
Hey, good morning, John. Good show so far. The problem with the abortion guy there, it's a one-issue voter. I mean, you can't go through life concerned about the one thing that people might not agree with you on and say, all right, burn the whole thing down. Hey, I agree. Yeah, pro-life is the way to go. Michelle Tafoya wish she was 100% pro-life. It's not what we have. It's not reality, and you just need to live with it. Take what's the best option and move on.
Let me add one more thing to this. And again, not an endorsement, just an observation on the part of this host. Like, I completely disagree with Michelle Tafoya on the abortion issue. I respect the fact that she says no taxpayer dollars for abortion, but I completely disagree with her on the issue. But I will say this. I respect her conviction. I respect the fact that she's genuine and authentic. Like, on an issue that is so touchy, for lack of a better word, on such a wedge issue, on one of the biggest issues. I mean, that issue of abortion pretty much decided the trifecta for the DFL a few years ago. They ran on abortion. They won on abortion. So the fact that Michelle Tafoya is willing to run as a Republican and still hold firm to her own views, it says something about her character. Again, not an endorsement of her, but just an observation in my view. Even though I completely disagree, two things can be true at once. I can absolutely respect her authenticity and the fact that she's not compromising her own views for the sake of running, and also, completely disagree with her view on that particular issue. Let's get back to some more of your thoughts from the Blaster line this morning at 612-584-4565.
Good morning, John. As far as the Republican candidates go, it's a pretty easy calculus. When you're looking at elections, I encourage everyone to participate, and what they should be doing is
my apologies there, guys. I had a bit of I'll start over Joseph's comment because he makes a good comment here.
Good morning, John. As far as the Republican candidates go, it's a pretty easy calculus.
Nice, I played it twice.
When you're looking at elections, I encourage everyone to participate, and what they should be doing is who is the candidate that most closely represents their policies and beliefs. Now, in Michelle Tafoya's case, she is by far the better candidate for people of a conservative and Republican nature than the Democrat alternative. It's not a difficult choice at all. Is it frustrating sometimes that we don't get everything that we want? Yes, absolutely. And people can feel that way. But vote for the candidate who best aligns with your policies. If you're missing on one big one, that sucks. But hey, they're still better than the alternative. Have a good one.
Friend of the show, Joseph, thank you so much for the blast. I greatly appreciate it. Again, 612-584-4565. And because it is a Freedom Friday, we will be taking your on and off topic comments all morning long through the Blaster line as our guests arrive here in the American Experiment studio. Let me do a couple of business items, then I want to dive into a few news stories that I have not had a chance to cover this week. Including the Ramsey County trying to sue to keep the Somali gangs out of the Minnesota State Fair. I want to give you details on that and more examples of how your tax dollars have been wasted you probably have not heard about yet. The fall briefing here at American Experiment this year will be featuring well-known commentator, and I'm a huge fan of his, Byron York. The theming for the event will be the battle for Congress, an insider's look at the midterm elections. The fall briefing with American Experiment is an event that you can attend. to hear Byron York's comments on our midterm elections. It's happening September 19th. And if you want more details, simply head on over to AmericanExperiment.org, and all of the information about how you can get tickets. The location is available there for the fall briefing. Again, September 19th, featuring guest speaker Byron York. I'm really looking forward to this event, and I hope to see all of the friends of the show there, and foes if you're brave enough to come in and join us, since a few of them have finally found the show. They figured out how to download an app. That was good. They figured out how to use their phone.
Finally.
It takes a while. You know, Democrats are a bit slow. Sometimes they need a lot of visual aids. But they have, some of them have returned, and we are very pleased that they are back on the show. One more item of note. I just want to do a quick shout out to the sponsors of the John Justice Show. NutriWave, NutriWave.us. Remember, you can get a $300 value just for finding out the details of this amazing weight loss program. Head on over to the website or give them a call today, 952-260-1965, and mention that keyword strike for that free gift. And also, just joined up this week, very pleased to have MiniLeaf and MiniLeaf.com as a sponsor of the show. We'll talk a little bit more about MiniLeaf and how they ensure with their night gummies that I get a good night's sleep. MINNELEAF.com is the website where you can see all of their products. So thank you to MiniLeaf and NutriWave, proud sponsors of the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment. And if you want to also advertise here on the show, we're talking with a lot of individuals. You're going to hear a lot of great sponsors here on the show supporting what we're doing here at American Experiment. Drop me an email, john.justice, again, at americanexperiment.org, and I will get you in contact with the individuals who have been lining up the advertisers, again, that you'll hear on the show. And I just appreciate the support. We're doing something different, something not a lot of people are doing. I do truly believe that this is where the conservative talk format is heading, is what we're doing here. Live streaming online across multiple platforms. I've been talking about the terrestrial radio woes as of late. And so I just want to, again, say thank you to everybody who has supported the show, and head on over to AmericanExperiment.org as well. There on the John Justice Show page, you can make a donation to American Experiment and get yourself a John Justice embroidered hat. And I was told that we do have more official John Justice Show merch coming very soon. We have the mug available on the merchandise site, but Isaac and I got together and we picked out a bunch of various items, that we can offer up with the John Justice Show logo. So I encourage everybody to.
I picked all the cool items.
You did well. You made sure I didn't have hoodies on the list, and so Isaac was like,
"Go out and buy a hoodie.
You have to have a hoodie.
Prove John wrong and go out and buy a hoodie."
No, I'm all for hoodies. I have no problem with a hoodie. I just didn't do a hoodie. I didn't do a zip hoodie, by the way. I did a pullover hoodie. I hope that was okay. Okay,
No,
I thought it was the right move.
Zip hoodies are no.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm not really all that up on, the popularity of hoodies at the moment, but I saw them and I went, I don't think I want a zipper one. I think I want a pullover one.
Correct.
Okay. Well, it's the right move, and those should be available hopefully within the coming week at AmericanExperiment.org. Let's go and hear from Blake.
Democrats are hunkered in on all their positions irrationally, but the abortion topic is one that is going to be really difficult to change the minds of the country on. So getting a candidate in that's going to eliminate taxpayer-funded abortion is a step in the right direction. That's a big, big move if we can get the rest of the country to accept that this is the new standard, that you're not going to be able to have taxpayer dollars that fund your abortion. Then we can start chipping away at the concept of abortion in general and start getting people to realize what they're actually doing when they're having their abortion.
Well, and getting back to the Michelle Tafoya, Peggy Flanagan race, this is another reason why I think this race is going to be so incredibly entertaining, because of the fact that while many Republicans disagree with Tafoya's take on abortion, it's off the table. So, Peggy Flanagan can't use that against her, and it's already clear she doesn't have a good, solid line of attack against Flanagan yet. These interviews that she's been doing on MS Now, on local channels, on CNN that we have the audio to share, she's still defaulting to Trump, 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 Trump. That's all that she gets asked a question, she gives a word salad answer, and then she defaults to Trump is bad, Trump is bad. That's all that she has right now. And I do not believe that this is going to be a winning strategy for her by any stretch.
Hey, good morning, John Barry in Andover. Winning this November is simple. You have to participate. That means participate. You have to donate. That means give some money. And you have to put aside your one single issue items and vote for who is the greater good for Minnesota. It's just not complicated.
Thank you for the comment. As always, if you want to leave a blast, to 612-584-4565. So let's go here. The Minnesota Attorney General's office and Ramsey County Attorney's office, they filed lawsuits earlier this week to prevent two Somali gangs, the Muddy and the Ville. V-I-L-L-E. That's not Vile, right? Is that Ville or Vile?
I don't know.
V-I-L-L-E?
V-I-L-L-E.
Is that Ville or Vile? I don't know. Do we care? It's a gang. Do we care if we're mispronouncing their name?
Lame gang name.
Yeah. So is Muddy. I don't,
Yeah, seriously.
What happened to the old school Crips and Bloods? I mean, that was just so,
a lot cooler.
So straightforward. Just Crips and Bloods.
Oh man, the Muddies are coming for us now, John.
Yeah, that does not know. The Ville is here. Run away.
Oh no.
Now, if it's the Vile,
maybe.
I think that's V-I-L-E. The double L there throws me off. Anyway, they're trying to prevent these two Somali gangs from engaging in gang activity at the Minnesota State Fair. The lawsuits allege the gangs are a public nuisance and have been involved in violent incidents, including shootings and brawls. This plays into the scooter takeover on I-35 earlier in the week. Now, while that was less nefarious, I mean, this is something very similar. Organizing via social media, encouraging individuals to gather in a group. In the scooter takeover on I-35, that was a bunch of individuals just, zooming around on scooters, breaking the law and putting their lives and others in danger on a major highway. This is a lot more nefarious when it comes to these Somali gangs. The lawsuits seek injunctions against the gangs and their affiliates, prohibiting them from gathering and harassing individuals associated with the gangs. The court documents allege that criminal gangs do constitute a public nuisance. They've been connected to multiple violent incidents across the Twin Cities, including a triple shooting outside the fairgrounds in 2024, chaos and brawls at the state fair last year, shots fired at a Burnsville high school graduation, and a shooting that occurred during the Metro State graduation near the Grand Casino Arena in St. Paul this spring. Calm down, you people. Crying out loud. We just need to build some basketball courts. That was always the solution that leftists always had. You know what? If we just had lit basketball courts so kids can just go play basketball late at night, we wouldn't have any of these problems. A sworn affidavit included court filings from Ramsey County and gang expert Ben Seidel outlines the gangs, the structures, and their violent activities and states that they have regularly used the Minnesota State Fair in recent years to engage in criminal activity, and they're planning to do so at the 2026 Minnesota State Fair. There was an image of a social media post that appears to foreshadow gang confrontations at the state fair. That was included with the affidavit. The lawsuits are predicated on a 2007 state law that allows criminal gangs to be classified as public nuisances. The lawsuit asked the judge to prohibit the Muddy and the Ville gang members from gathering, confronting, intimidating, annoying, harassing, threatening, challenging, provoking, assaulting, or battering any person. Yeah, the only batter that I want at the Minnesota State Fair is on my funnel cake. Just saying that for the record. It goes on to say, no battering of any person known to be a witness or a victim of or known to have complained about either gang. The injunctive relief is requested for the entirety of the fair, beginning at 8 a.m., opening morning, ending at 6 a.m. after Labor Day. The judge is set to hear evidence in the two cases at hearings scheduled. Actually, those hearings took place yesterday, but I did not see any updates online. Ramsey County Attorney's Office issued a statement indicating that it was limited in what it could say ahead of yesterday's hearings, but offered a statement from Ramsey County Attorney John Choi, just talking about the evidence and how they feel justified in moving forward to try to keep these individuals from going into the fair. Listen, the only way that you can do that is to profile, which I'm totally fine with. I guess I would then ask, okay, well, how are you going to profile? I'm totally fine with that. We had a, and I've referenced this several times, and maybe I'll need to get David back on the show again sometime in the near future, and he can, we can do this. We can do this again. But he had talked about how ridiculous it was at airports that we're not properly profiling. This idea, we don't do it nearly as much anymore, but the idea that you would just pull randomly somebody waiting in line at the security checkpoint, and that was their level of security. And the idea would be, well, anybody can get caught. It's possible for anybody to be able to get swept up in all of this. So you just better be careful. Don't plan on doing anything nefarious, right? And David was always like, it's ridiculous. They should be profiling individuals. You should be looking at people that could fit the description of somebody that would go and commit a terrorist act on an airplane and go and question them appropriately. Don't go violating any rights, but you are inside an airport, and that's what we should be doing, and we hadn't been. So this is what needs to happen here with these gangs. That being said, I really don't know exactly how you would go about doing that. If you're not going to be profiling, I don't know how you plan on stopping them apart from beefed up security. If you want to chime in, 612-584-4565. That's the blaster line. Representative Max Reimer joins us on the couch here on a Freedom Friday. You have any idea how they would actually go about barring these? Well, first off, is it Vile or Ville, the gang? Which way do you go on it? V-I-L-L-E. You say Vile or Ville? Try it again.
Let's go.
Nope, not yet. Try it again.
I'm going to say Ville.
Okay.
Ville.
So how do you, good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Good to be here.
How do you propose, or, do you have any thoughts or insight on how they would actually block these gangs from going into the Minnesota State Fair?
Well, I think the only thing that you're left with, and you just alluded to it, is you're going to have to profile a little bit. Obviously, I don't know what kind of heat these people are packing when they come to the state fair. But obviously, I think there was a court case that got won a few years ago where it said you can carry at the state fair. Okay. So if they are carrying, maybe checking to see that they have the proper documentation to actually carry a weapon into the state fair. Because I'm guessing a lot of these Ville gang members have not taken the time to get their concealed carry permit.
Yeah, it's the Ville and the Muddy. Those are the two. Those are the two gangs. So they're the apparently they're the Minnesota modern day version of the Crips and the Bloods.
Okay,
that's
great.
At least that's what I'm.
Glad they're here.
That's what I'm rolling with. So, as somebody who grew up watching Boys in the Hood and Colors, and actually had firsthand experience because I lived in that area at the time when the Crips and the Bloods were quite prominent. What's interesting about this too, and there's a story that we'll talk about later on, Max. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it. But a report was released, and this is totally attached to the election, by the way. Mm-hmm. But there was a report that was released talking about the tactics of the federal government as Operation Metro Surge was going on. I'm looking at the headline here. I believe this is from, I grabbed this one from the Minnesota Reformer, but it's the lead story on the Star Tribune right now. As Minnesotans organized against ICE, DHS spied on meetings, subpoenaed bank records, according to court filings. Well, what do you think's happening with the Muddy and the Ville in all of this? You have Ramsey County looking into the background of these individuals, right, trying to keep them from going and conducting criminal activity during the Minnesota State Fair. None of this surprises me. I'm actually glad the federal government was doing this. And as I mentioned, we'll get into further details on it later in the show as we get into the primary talk. But this was released specifically now that the primary is over, because this is one of the things that the Democrat candidates are absolutely going to hammer or attempt to hammer against their GOP opponents here in Minnesota. It's going to be the issue of ICE and Operation Metro Surge.
Oh, yeah. You see that across all of even the more overtly progressive media, and then the Star Tribune, which pretends it's not progressive. You see the narrative being set here. What they're going to do is they're going to say that ignore the fraud, ignore the actual problems that are happening across our state right now, and focus on Operation Metro Surge. I think that has been established by Peggy Flanagan at this point, that is going to be what she is running on. And you already see the narrative being set. And it'll just be an interesting experiment over the next few months to see how much people are willing to remember what happened in January versus what's happening in their lives right now.
Yeah, now we're going to get into all of that. I'm waiting for the rest of our Freedom Friday crew here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment, A.K. Kamara and Katherine Johnson, to join us in studio. You're on and off-topic comments all morning long on the Blaster line this morning here on the show.
Hey, John, good morning. I find it ironic that they're going after these gangs and saying we don't want them at the fair. And then these people have been used and such. What happened during ICE Metro Surge?
Yep, exactly.
Weren't the politicians encouraging people to use their cell phones and organize like that?
Of course.
Thanks, buddy.
Great point.
Yeah, no, it's the double standard. I mean, it's there. It's blatant. We see it almost every single day here in Minnesota. Let's go back to the Blaster line.
This gang loss is the perfect reason why we should be optimistic. They would not be doing this lawsuit to prevent gang violence at the fair if they weren't a little bit nervous going into the November election, folks. Any type of violence at the fair this year is not going to do well for the Democratic Party. So they can do what they need to do if they have to. They just choose to do it for election purposes.
Max, it is so interesting to see, just anecdotally, the commentary online right now from some, fairly well-known leftist commentators as they try to frame the arguments for the candidates to use against the GOP candidates. And I don't want to project too much. I'm trying to keep my own desire for victories in November at bay when I look at these comments, but they really come off as a bit of desperation and reek of concern
No doubt
that the GOP went and selected the slate of candidates that they did.
No doubt. And you can feel however you feel right now. I posted this online. It was like the day after the election. You can feel however you want to feel about how Tuesday's primary turned out. At the end of the day, I've been involved in Minnesota politics or on the peripheries of it since, call it 2011. And there is just no doubt that this is the most electable field that we have had statewide since I have been involved in politics. And you're already seeing the narratives come out and kind of the desperate narratives. One thing that I saw yesterday was that Peggy Flanagan went on MSNBC to do an interview, and she is, to our benefit, she is incapable of pivoting off of her progressive DSA talking points. Basically, she couldn't answer whether or not a 10-year-old should be castrated if they think they're transgender. She's not going to be capable of moderating her message because she's not that smart.
No, she is not ready for prime time.
She's not.
We have those audio clips to share a little bit later on in the show because I had to watch them a few times because I was like, wait a second. Is she really saying what or is she really saying what I think she's saying? Or more specifically, is she really leaving out what I think that she's leaving out? I mean, it's like she answers the question, kind of, there's a word salad, and then, either throws Walz under the bus, and then she ends up just defaulting to Trump is bad. So we'll get into those details coming up when the rest of our guests join us this morning. Keep the comments rolling in to the Blaster line at 612-584-4565. I just want to take a quick moment and talk about the great night of sleep that I got last night. Only because of the Mini Leaf Night Gummies. These gummies are fantastic. You take one before you go to bed. You drift quickly and blissfully off to sleep, and you wake up feeling refreshed in the morning. Now, I get up, and here's another thing, too. Somebody had asked me about this. I get up multiple times in the night. The great thing about the night gummies is I have no problem even falling back asleep. So I get up, do my thing, and then immediately I'm back out once I hit the sheets. These are available at MINNELEAF.com. Again, that's MINNELEAF.com. Also, I want to mention that Mini Leaf is going to be out and about this weekend. I'll have details on that coming up on the show. They're going to be out. There's a couple of major fights that are going on this weekend. So Mini Leaf is going to be on hand Saturday, August 15th, Canterbury Park. There's a couple of fights going on. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these guys. We'll say McCoy. We'll say McCoy and Michael.
McCoy and Michael.
Tekots versus Blockus.
Oh,
sure. We'll go with that.
Are these real people?
The muddy versus the Ville? No, there's so Ignite Fights 114 happening at Canterbury Park on Saturday night. Mini Leaf will be out there, products in hand. So if you go on by, say hi to Eric and the fantastic people over at Mini Leaf. Either way, head on over to the website, MINNELEAF.com. Again, that's MINNELEAF.com, and check out all of the fantastic products, the night gummies, the fun gummies, their spooky Mini Leaf tonics, and the Triple Diamond Pain Cream. And if you're at Canterbury Park on Saturday night, go on by and say hi to Mini Leaf while you are there. Let's get back to the blaster line here on the John Justice Show.
Come on, John. You know, one of the most ironic things about this lawsuit by Bob Fletcher against the Muddy and the Ville is that they're not banning anybody from the fair. They're just banning them from meeting up inside the fair.
Oh, okay. So that's the case. That kind of takes care of the problem of profiling. So they're just not going to be able to get, I don't know how they're going to handle any of this.
How do they determine who's actually part of the Muddy and the Ville? Do they have ID cards? Do they have a photo ID to be part of the gang?
It's almost like they have to go the other way. If you are the Muddy or the Ville, make sure that you wear identifying clothing so that we can keep you
maybe that's
from
it though.
engaging
No,
while you're
unironically, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Because I'm not sure how you actually tell who is who. Again, is there a membership card? Is there a photo ID to get into the gang?
Well, back in the day with the Crips and the Blood, they wore the colors.
Yeah.
You wore the gang color. You wore those gang colors proudly, made you a target with drive-bys, but you still wore this. So I don't know if the Muddy and the Ville have.
What do those banners look like?
Do they have logos? Do they have crests?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not up on my gangs.
A card carrying Muddy member?
Yeah. I have. I don't know how they're going.
Like I said, you probably need a photo ID to get into the Muddy, and you don't need a photo ID to vote in our Minnesota elections.
Somebody, a friend of the show, Pat, did on X said that they have said you cannot bring any. The Minnesota State Fair website still says weapons of any type are not allowed.
I couldn't remember how that lawsuit shook out as I thought back on it. I seem to remember it being like overturned, but it wouldn't surprise me if it said that you can't carry weapons into the state fair.
We have some blast rolling in that may have further answers for us. Let's find out.
Hello, John. With the discussion about trying to stop the gangs from coming on into the state fair, I believe they're going to be using the technology that's available, which is facial recognition. Thanks, John.
And again, you'd have to know who the members of the Muddy and the Ville are in order to utilize the facial recognition. But that could be a part of it. Well, they're pulling down all those flock cameras, Max. So maybe they'll take some of the flock cameras and then move them over to the Minnesota
State Fair.
Minnesota State.
Can it read faces too?
Your guess,
I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine, my friend. So, I want to mention that we will be out of the Minnesota State Fair, Center of the American Experiment. I will be there on Saturday, August 29th.
You're back.
Yeah.
You're back at the state fair.
That's right.
Hey, you're thrilled about that.
Well, I am. Well, I'm doing it right this year. I'm gonna have Melinda drop me off.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play this. I can't get into doing the bus in. I don't know why. Pinky's up. Drew would always do the bus. He raved about the bus. He raved about using that, and he was probably right. May he rest in peace. I just can't do it. So this year, I think I'm gonna have Melinda or have one of our sons drop Melinda and me off at the fair on August 29th. So
some of my fondest memories of the state fair were when you guys did the radio program right in front of the Minnesota GOP booth.
Yeah, before they went and sold them the the Twin Cities News Talk booth.
Yeah. I like that. I liked it. It created a little buzz around the GOP booth.
That was that booth was cool. I understood why iHeart got rid of the building, because as the live talent on the radio station shrunk, it was just us, and then we were hardly using it. So I completely understand why they got rid of it. But that was a fun.
It was fun.
That was a fun building at the fair. I'll be there 11 to 1 on Saturday, August 29th, and there are boxes filled with all kinds of amazing American Experiment logoed free stuff that we'll be giving out at the state fair. And we've got a wheel and something fun planned with the wheel. Isaac, were you in on the wheel conversation, the spinning of the wheel and what we're doing?
It's a big debate around here.
Are they still debating what they want to do?
No, I believe it's finalized,
okay.
but
yeah, Bill Walsh had a fantastic idea.
It was like the Muddies versus the Ville back
It
there.
really, yeah, it got pretty ugly. All right, are you going to the fair any particular day there?
If
Max
you're
Reimer?
going to be there, I'll be there.
All right.
Why not? I'll go a day or two.
Okay, so we got one in August 29th, 11 to 1, Max.
There we go.
So hopefully you'll come on out.
I'll be there.
We'll see if we can get the rest. Well, I think the girls will be there. I think wild card Catherine and Grace
will not.
Grace will not be there.
No.
Where's she going?
I don't know. I'm taking her shift.
Okay,
So
I know.
unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with me. In
What a bummer!
I know.
She's not here today either. I think she's mad at me because I called her the John Justice Show word police. I think she's still upset at me because she's very, very vocal when we use particular terminology, and she's, I do not want you using that. So I appreciate it.
Maybe Grace is going big time. Maybe she's just got better stuff to do.
I don't know. Is that true? Do we know? Is there any inside information? Is she joining the Muddy or the Ville?
I hope not.
Okay. All right, let's go here. So I had a couple of different stories here, Max, and it's funny because this happens not that often, but it happens on occasion. Like I'll land on an instinctive reaction and point to a particular story, and then subsequently, like within a day, if I don't get to it, there's another story that pops up that reinforces my point, and then I end up patting myself on the back.
There you go.
And go, good job, host. You talk smart. Minnesota startup Flex Forge received $1 million in state funding despite missing a deadline to report on its spending and job creation. The company, which was not registered with the state when it requested the funding, claimed to be an established business with 10 employees. The Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development indeed acknowledged the oversight shortcomings and stated it should have ensured the report was submitted before sending the payment. So, first off, do you have an instinctive reaction to this, Max Reimer?
No, I mean,
okay. I have more.
What do they do? What is the value proposition of Flex Forge?
Flex Forge appeared before lawmakers in 2023 asking for $10 million to create more than 160 manufacturing jobs at their facility in Brooklyn Park. They are an EV startup, in answer to your question. Okay. So we're going green on this.
Okay.
Basically, Minnesota kept sending thousands of grants to the EV startup that missed a key reporting. So my point on this, when I was going through the story, was the lonely highway theory, right? Okay, if it's happening with this company, okay, who else is out there skirting the rules, and how many more millions are we simply throwing away? So that was my initial reaction, right? Okay. Well, then I end up finding this other story the next day. Failing Minneapolis housing complex kept getting millions in federal state dollars. So lonely highway theory now proven fact. The federal inspectors gave Heritage Park failing or near failing scores multiple times, including a score of 0 last year. A failing score is anything under 60. And scores under 80 require yearly inspections. But despite the results, the Department of Housing and Urban Development continued sending about $85,000 a month to the property, totaling more than $1 million a year, according to records. By the way, the tenants at Heritage Park said they have dealt with mold, rodents, broken air conditioners, and boarded up windows for years. The place was a slum. It was an absolute slum. And yet they still continued to get millions in federal dollars. And John Phelan's got a piece on this. Another day, another scheme where the state government wastes hundreds of thousands of your hard-earned dollars. I mean, you have the fraud issue, Representative Max Reimer, and then you have, I don't even know what, you don't put this under, would you put this under fraud, or would you put this under lack of oversight,
just
or some other definition?
Lack of oversight. Yeah. To give our audience just a sense for how Minnesota government operates writ large, right? Minnesota government, they establish this is what you are responsible for. These are the mandates that we're passing down to you. And then what they do is historically, they outsource the actual mechanism for how their new program is implemented. And that outsourcing can go to counties, and that outsourcing, especially during the trifecta, goes to specific named grant recipients. Okay. And when you have situations like this, where people are getting doled out cash to fulfill a warrant that the government says they need to, what has become very apparent is there's no oversight. There has been no oversight of these companies like FlexForge. And federal dollars are very similar, right? Ultimately, federal dollars are administered by counties or specific grant recipients. And in the same way, this isn't fraud. This is just not caring about where Minnesota tax dollars are actually going.
John Phelan writes this in a piece this week, available up at AmericanExperiment.org. Minnesota's state government has lost billions of dollars in taxpayer money in recent years to fraud. He says, let's call this category 1. And this leans into exactly what I was talking about, Max.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is all the taxpayer money, which is spent as intended, but those intentions are wasteful. The egregious examples receiving our not coveted Golden Turkey Award. Let's call this category 2. Then there is taxpayer money, which is just lost through rank incompetence. Let's call this category 3. You know, the thing of it is, I like his category, but, you know, now you're getting into like a hurricane status. It's like, when is Minnesota going to hit like category 5 where it's unrecoverable and it just lays waste to the entire state? He talks about FlexForge in here too. And then exactly what we were talking about. In category 2, he talks about the funding requirements. FlexForge submitting information detailing how the money was spent, but the company missing the deadline, and they're still receiving the dollars anyway. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And how different would everything be if we got all of this under control, if we got the fraud under control? Because that fraud number is one thing, and we've sort of pontificated that it could be as much as 10, 11, 12 billion. Well, how much more would we add to it when you get into these other categories that John Phelan was talking about?
Just waste and incompetence. And here's the deal. This is the conversation that we need to start having. And God willing, Lisa Damuth is our next governor. We have a trifecta going into the legislature. Obviously, we have taken measures this past legislative session to establish an office that will go after what we'll call category 1, I would say. Category 1 being the overt fraud, okay? But the way that you prevent category 1, 2, and 3 from ever occurring is reevaluating what Minnesota government is responsible for providing, okay? There's less fraud if there's less programs, period. Okay? Not every DFL created program is just so untouchable, is doing such good work 100% of the time that it can't be eliminated, right? We have to start looking at what are the critical services that these programs provide. But then you're going to tell me that we really believed at one point in time FlexForge, this random, obviously fake company, was going to produce so many electric vehicles that it was going to benefit Minnesota society? No, the answer was no then. The answer is obviously no now. And the only way that you get back to some kind of like semblance of normalcy is eliminating these obviously ridiculous programs that subsidize companies that shouldn't exist to begin with.
If you want to comment on the show on a Freedom Friday for Max or for AK, who'll be joining us soon, Katherine Johnson and myself, you can do so by leaving us a blast at 612-584-4565. And it is a Freedom Friday, so that means you're on and off topic comments all morning long as we work through some of the stories of the day. And let's get back to the election and hear from Tom.
You guys sound very confident that the Republicans are going to win this November. You say you've been in Minnesota politics. Do you not forget, or remember, excuse me, that we are an incredibly blue state?
Oh, I never forget.
Like it or not, we are. This is going to be a very, very challenging election. There's a chance, but don't get overconfident. We have a lot of work to do.
No doubt.
A lot of idiots in this state.
Listen, two things can be true at once. You can have confidence, but also understand the difficulties, in the uphill battle that we are facing here in the state. I feel like that gets lost on a lot of people, and no offense to anybody for that, but there's these default sort of mentalities where if you talk about the fact that you're confident, you think this is like I do. I think this is the best slate of candidates providing the GOP the best opportunity to win statewide elections in a manner that I haven't seen since I've been doing politics here. That's just my opinion of the GOP's chances. But again, that doesn't mean that I'm, turning a blind eye to how difficult it's going to be. I guess I thought that was a given, but it feels like it gets lost on some of the friends of the show.
Yeah, and make no mistake, I have seen enough. I have seen enough stuff here where you feel good about the cycle, you feel good about the environment, you feel generally good about the candidates, and then a bomb gets dropped on you on election night, and for as long as I live in Minnesota, there will never be, oh, we got this, it's a slam dunk. I don't think I'll ever feel that. But just to reiterate what John was saying is it feels like we're in the fight. It feels like we got a chance. And I'm not saying that anything's a foregone conclusion. There's obviously a ton of work to do. If you're listening, you should get involved with some of these campaigns, try to donate, try to get sign up to door knock and things of that nature. It is not a given. I mean, don't mistake me. I will never say that.
I would much rather, and it's just how I kind of approach things. I would much rather approach things from an optimistic view, even if it is going to be a difficult task, even if it is going to be an uphill battle. I could use the example of, starting here at Center of the American Experiment, knowing everything that it would entail to go and pull off this unique show and live situation that we're doing here. I'm not going to go into it, and I didn't go into it going, oh, you know what, I don't know how I'm ever going to do this. This is going to fail. Why am I even bothering? I don't know. No, I went in going, no, we're going to make this happen. We're going to work through the challenges, and there were a lot of challenges. We're going to work through our technical difficulties. We're going to solve our problems, and then we're going to go live on a particular date. And I did it with optimism. And so I know people approach these elections differently, but it's like I'll take that over the individuals who are just why bother? I'm throwing my hands up. We're never going to win. There's too much fraud. There's too much corruption. Why even bother talking about it? I'd much rather have an individual who's out there, saying, don't get overconfident in the person who's basically just given up.
Yeah, for sure. And to the people who have given up, I'm just not sure why you stick around Minnesota. If you felt like Minnesota was beyond redemption, beyond saving, it'd be tough for me to want to continue to invest my time and energy and effort into elections and trying to get us back on track and being in the legislature. But I think most of us have like an acute understanding that it's not too far gone yet. No. We probably do have just one election cycle. Like where if I've thought about this a lot, where if Michelle Tafoya, who now is aesthetically a moderate candidate who's pro-choice, you take that issue off the table. If she can't beat just a straight up communist, just a straight up Democrat, socialist, this is a real test for where we actually are in Minnesota right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And even for those individuals, just to add a little bit more insight as we head into hour 2 on a Freedom Friday, it's the John Justice Show presented by American Experiment. And I have something very special for everybody coming up here in a moment as our guests continue to work their way into the studio this morning. But there were a lot of individuals concerned over the turnout numbers, and we'll talk more about this in the hour. The truth is that while there was disparity between the number of Democrats, DFLers that ended up coming out for the primary election and Republicans, it was lower numbers compared to, I think, 2020 for the Democrats, and it broke records for GOP turnout.
Yes.
So there's always a difference there in the number of Democrats who are out voting in primaries over Republicans, but everybody was freaking out when the reality is, no, the Republicans actually had a great showing, whereas Democrats were lower than they typically were. Let's go back to the blaster line at 612-584-4565. A friend of the show, lawyer James Dickey, has a comment this morning.
Good morning, John. Happy Freedom Friday. This is James Dickey. On Michelle Tafoya, there is one way she can shore up support among pro-lifers on abortion. And that's in 2022, the U.S. Senate voted on a bill to codify Roe v. Wade when the Supreme Court Dobbs decision was leaked. But the only reason it failed with Democrat-controlled Senate and President Biden was that Joe Manchin voted with the Republicans. So it was a 49-51 vote because of that. It's complicated, but Dobbs itself from the Supreme Court does not automatically mean that Congress can't try to nationalize the abortion issue. So Tafoya could win, in my opinion, every pro-life Minnesotan while not sacrificing her own view on abortion if she would pledge not to vote in favor of a bill like that, because it should be a state issue in the minds of many conservatives.
The red light burns on air. John Justice takes the line. Star Wars on the speaker shelf, and NASCAR on his mind. Cold Sable in a paper cup. He smiles and starts the show. Freedom Friday on the dial, where the loud opinions go. If you've got truth, bring it in. If you've got fire, let it spin. Don't hold back now. Say it clear. They're listening right here. Freedom Friday, raise your voice. Freedom Friday, make a choice. John Justice, open mic. Say it now, say it right. Freedom Friday, let it fly. Freedom Friday, reach the sky. Call the show and tell him why. Freedom Friday, raise your voice. Freedom Friday, make your choice. John Justice, open mic. Say it now, say it right. Freedom Friday, let it fly. Freedom Friday, reach the sky. Call the show and tell him why. Freedom Friday, alright. Speak your mind, take the line. Freedom Friday, alright.
And thank you to the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment House Band, the AI Overlords, and Freedom Friday here on a Freedom Friday with a full house this morning. I am very pleased to welcome onto the comfy chair and the sofas of the American Experiment studio, Catherine Johnson, the wild card of our group. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning.
How are we doing this morning?
Very good, I would say.
Okay.
Ready to have some takes.
You're ready. You're ready for some freedom on a Friday.
Always.
Okay.
Always. That was a banger, by the way. I know, love
right?
that song.
It did, these songs have no business being as good as they are. I mentioned it yesterday. If I were a musician, I'd be like terrified right now. Representative Max Reimer is also in the house.
You know, they've gotten better even since we first started looking into the AI music creating.
That was a one take, by the way. That was one take, one prompt, nailed it. I have two different versions. I played one earlier, but I sent them both to you, Max. But you didn't. Did you respond to me?
No, but I listened.
Oh, okay. No, I wanted your take. I wanted your thoughts.
sorry.
I said, which one do you prefer? I didn't want to spoil it to the entire Freedom Friday
I'm sorry.
group.
I listened to them.
Okay, I wanted to know, go with this one. I wanted you to make a decision.
Early.
Okay, fine.
Doing my best.
Read your text next time. RNC Committeeman, AK Kamara.
Good morning.
What's up, bro?
You know, I was listening on the drive in this morning, and when you guys were discussing the gang stuff, I have a lot different and better insight of actually what is occurring and happening.
Oh, okay.
On a Freedom Friday, please.
Well,
So let's
we'll jump into it.
Let's back up. So Ramsey County is looking at filing a lawsuit against the Muddy and is it the Ville or the Vile?
I'm not sure if it's Ville or Vile.
Well, you don't know what you said. You know.
He said he knew better.
I would assume that it's Vile. That would be my assumption.
But they
because
spell it.
Ville doesn't mean anything.
I know, but
they just put an extra L in there for probably
because
some type of Somali word for something.
It's more street.
Maybe.
Is it more street? Because Vile is VILE.
So back in the day,
Not that
right?
it
There's all
matters,
these different gangs, right? So like Bloods and Crips are just two specific gangs.
Right.
And then there's a bunch of other ones. One of the more prominent gangs is something called the Vice Lords. And for a while they had the IVL, which was the Insane Vice Lords, because they're like an offshoot. So when it comes to gangs in general, all it is a group of people that get together, say, we have a code. We want to basically take over the organized crime in this kind of geographical location.
Okay.
And a lot of it will be based off of where they live. And with the Somali gangs, more specifically, it's neighborhoods and then also clans, right? And so the problem is, how do you stop people from associating with a group of other individuals when they haven't broken a law just by simply associating?
Right.
And so that's why this injunction is being pushed. Some people are like, well, like, just stop the gang members. It's like, well, how? You can't just arrest someone because they're affiliated with someone. So the other part, to kind of give a broader context, how do they know who they are? Ramsey County, Washington County, Hennepin County all have a gang task force, and they compile known associates of people that are arrested that are affiliated with other gangs. Because one of the things that gangs do to be able to spread their fear is they claim different types of violent acts. So if you arrest someone and they're like, going to jail or going to county, people are going to identify who are you with, who are you representing, and they compile that information. So I have a buddy that is an ex-cop, and he keeps files on all of these known gang members for all of these different cliques, whether it's motorcycle gangs, and he had like a database that had like 40,000 people in it, quite literally.
So what you're saying is, Ramsey County, basically under this nuisance law, moved forward in this injunction to keep these gangs from gathering inside of the Minnesota State Fair. Is what you're saying is they are very full aware of who these individuals are
100%.
and can easily identify them on site if need be. Okay.
Correct. And so
that answers that question.
But just really quick, if we know who they are, why aren't they just like in jail?
Because there's not a law that says you can't be involved in a gang. There's
Right.
a law that says you can't steal or whatever. And if you're caught doing those things, but this is why federally they had to create RICO. RICO was,
I thought they solved this with the mob.
yes. So in order to have RICO charges from a federal standpoint, because there's not Minnesota RICO, which something that maybe Lisa Damath, when she wins, she should do is put together some legislation with legislators about having that to stop the violence, is that if you are caught organizing for things outside of just specifically crime, if you are conspiring to commit a crime, you should be able to be arrested. Now, federally, if the Fed stepped in and they had enough evidence, they could shut down these gangs, but that'd be super, super heavy handed. And when you go and you do these sweeps like they did in New York City with the FBI and the Southern District of New York, you do sweep up people that maybe are friends of gang members. And then it's like, okay, are you innocent until proven guilty? Or by joining a gang, are you automatically guilty of a crime? So there is this super gray area, but this injunction is meant to allow them to actually say, yeah, you're known as a gang affiliated person. And so you either A, can't enter, or B, cannot congregate. That's why the injunction is happening. For most people, they're like, oh, well, how do you actually stop people that have a similar ideology that haven't broken the law yet? And so I think it's smart what they're trying to do. They're trying to preemptively disperse these gang members. But at the same time, it does get into like, well, how do you know who truly is a gang member? Because a lot of the stuff is confidential informants. You arrest some low-level drug dealer and you say, this is what your charge is going to be.
Yeah.
But if you give me who you're working with, who you're working for, the names of associates, now you have a confidential informant. And a lot of that stuff has to stay private. Otherwise, they're going to be killed.
I want to go to the blaster line at 612-584-4565 here on the John Justice
It's
Show.
vile. It's obviously vile. They just leered how to spell from the Leering Center.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to let there was a lot of people doing
Yeah,
the
it was in
joke.
there. It was in there.
Had to go and have somebody go and handle the joke. I want to get back to a couple of blasts that have rolled in on a Freedom Friday, again, on and off topic comments and questions all morning long. And this individual has a question for
Hi,
Max.
I was just wondering if you could ask Max how much of a margin the GOP needs to beat the fraud that is obviously putting the DFL over the top in many elections. Thanks.
Yeah, Max. How many more people need to go out so we can stop all the fraud that's taking place?
I wish I knew. It's an unanswerable question because we've not done anything from a statewide initiative to determine who's actually committing voter fraud, what our voter fraud or what our voter rolls look like. What I can just tell you is from like a margin standpoint, I think the polling on Keith Ellison has been instructive because the polling on Keith Ellison basically caps him out at 44%, 45%. I tend to think that's Keith Ellison's ceiling because you have a guy with 99% name ID who basically is an emblem of communist just lawlessness in Minnesota. And I think that 45%, that is your floor for how many people are hardcore vote blue no matter who in Minnesota. And I also think that there's not like enough Republicans in Minnesota to like have this raw vote for a Republican be over 50%. I tend to think that if we win, it's going to be with 48.5%. So I don't know about the fraud question, but what I will say is like hopefully this election, we have to pull over some swing voters and moderate voters in the metro to win.
I want to back up for just a moment. My wife, Melinda, just texted me. She looked up VILLE.
Yeah.
So in French, it actually translates to city. So she's thinking maybe they're a fancy gang.
Ville.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it's Ville, the muddy and Well, that would certainly be.
France is a Muslim country now.
And that would be in contrast to muddy. I keep saying the muddy. I keep putting that. I think it's just muddy.
Muddy.
So Ville would certainly be in contrast to muddy. To the previous blast, I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I just find the fraud talk in the middle of as we start this general election, I find the fraud talk and concern of the fraud relating to GOP turnout just completely unproductive. There's nothing you and I can do about it. There are individuals at the ground level whose job it is to attempt to shore up integrity. And AK, you've talked about this many times. The Republicans that are making sure they're doing everything that they can legally, that there's no fraud taking place. But otherwise, what I don't want to see is individuals like we were talking about earlier. They get completely turned off from the entire process because they think the fraud is too great or there is fraud and the GOP can't overcome it. And that negativity doesn't drive enthusiasm at all. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be a part of the conversation, but in the general, with just, a handful of essentially weeks, relatively speaking, to go before the election in November, to be concerning yourself over how many people do we need to go and vote to overtake the fraud to taking place? Well, it's like there's no way to even quantify that. And I just find the whole discussion unproductive. And we can talk about it here, but I just personally don't think it's productive to the process of getting, individuals elected.
Did you happen to see what James O'Keefe was trying to do?
We're going to get into that in just a moment.
I was going to say,
the audio.
That's part of the problem is so much of what I would consider fraud is basically legal in Minnesota.
Right.
The voting laws that we have. So what we need to do is get people elected and advocate for better policy when it comes to our elections. But that requires that we be on the front end, too big to rig. I mean, really.
Yeah, that's the point. So the question is, what do we need to do? The RNC specifically has kept alive and even funded even more during this election cycle, kind of looking at the larger landscape, the election integrity effort. They just had a win here in Minnesota in regards to witness verification of absentee balloting. And this is what we have to do. You have to make it too big to rig. And what does that mean ultimately? Max, you were 100% on point. We can quibble about what the percentages are. I think if every single true red-blooded Republican showed up in Minnesota to vote, you'd have about 30% of the electorate. If every single hardcore blue-blooded DFLer showed up to the election, you'd have about 38%. So it is true that more people openly identify, which means that there's a huge swath of independents. And yes, some of those independents mostly lean to the left, but some of the independents are complete wild cards and they just don't vote. They're lower propensity. They'll come out during basically presidential elections. So what we have to do to combat the fraud that we know is occurring is sign up for the election integrity efforts. There is going to be a swamp the vote style election integrity effort in Minnesota that is going to be rolled out by the Republican Party of Minnesota along with the RNC. I imagine that even the different campaigns are going to have kind of an input into that. So you volunteer, sign up, become someone that is actually helping put that force forward to keep those that want to commit fraud on notice by being a poll challenger, poll watcher. I know that there's some different legal vernacular that you have to be specific about, but that's what you should do. On top of that, you have to just understand that this is about turnout. If we continue to be on the same trajectory that it looks like we are on, we are going to have in Minnesota a higher than average turnout, and that bodes well because you have to ask yourself, what's then causing people to want to turn out? For the DFL, they want to make it about Operation Metro Surge or that Trump is bad. For the rest of normal, polite society, we want to say all the fraud is bad. That's why we should turn out. So I think that to that question, get involved in some way, shape, or form, and it can be very, very simple. There's even some questions about when can observers be there to watch even early absentee ballot boxes come in. So, but we need bodies. We need people to raise their hand and say, hey, I'll volunteer a couple hours to help watch.
We have more thoughts on the Ville gang here on the John Justice Show, courtesy of the Blast.
Hey, John. Ville is short for Burnsville, which is the Burnsville kids. Have a good day.
Oh, okay.
That's not nearly as much fun.
That makes sense.
That
though.
does make more sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it is Ville.
The Ville. Yeah.
Okay. I like this guy's idea. Here on the Blaster line.
Hello, morning crew. This is Dan from Minneapolis.
Hi, Dan.
And Ville is the root word of villain.
It is.
I don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but sounds pretty close.
No.
Sophisticated double entendre. Maybe it's both. Maybe they had like one high IQ Somali gang individual that said, we're from Burnsville and it is the root for villain. So let's go with Ville.
You know what? I'll say this much. If there's any members of the Ville gang listening, you clearly
Leave a blast.
You clearly need to change. Well, yeah, leave a blast to 612-584-4565. But on top of that, a little advice, you clearly need to change your name. Like Muddy is just Muddy. I don't really give a rip. Muddy.
Hold on. How is Muddy spelled?
Muddy.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that.
As opposed to, how else would you spell it?
Well,
M-U-D-D-I,
we're having like a
M-U-D-I.
half an hour long conversation about Ville, Vile. I don't know. Maybe it was
M-H-A-D-D-I-E.
M-U. Yeah, something like that.
I think that's actually Timothy Chalamet's character's name in Dune, right? Isn't that what it is? Sorry.
Mudai.
There you go. Thank you. Boy, man, I thought really I was going to be out on a limb on that.
No,
one.
I got you.
Falling
I got you on
quickly.
that one.
Looked at Catherine's face and it was like,
Catherine's
I
like,
have no idea. It's just like,
what?
Movie, Timothy. Well, you know Timothy Chalamet.
I do. I'm familiar.
You know, the
dating Kylie Jenner.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say, oh, yeah, is that the Kardashians' boyfriend?
Yes.
Is he really dating Kylie Jenner?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, they were going to like Knicks games together and
Dude,
stuff.
he can do better than that.
Whoa,
He can do.
what?
He seemed a little bit. No, I said, look, she's attractive. I'm not saying she's unattractive. No, I'm just saying that she doesn't seem like the sharpest
AK's
tool in the
AK's
sharpest
got
tool in
thoughts.
the shed. I figured he could do somebody a little bit more sophisticated than a.
I need clarification, and you would know. Which is the like almost billionaire that created their own makeup line?
Kylie Jenner.
Okay.
Okay,
so-
never mind. All right, never
yeah,
mind.
She's a successful
economic
business
security.
I mean,
woman.
that was Kris Jenner's creation, was Kylie Jenner, right?
Okay.
So I think she gets the credit. But yeah, I don't know. She's maybe got something
All right, I'll give
going
it
on
to you.
upstairs.
That was pure
Yeah.
ignorance on my part.
Well, what happened is, do you guys want the lore? Okay,
Complete
so
lack of
Kylie
integrity.
Jenner got lip filler when she was pretty young,
Yep.
and her lips blew up, and people started making fun of her. Okay, Kylie Jenner started the lip filler
Hate it when
trend,
that
by the
happens.
way.
Okay.
And they were like, how do we spin this? How do we make this into something we can profit off of? Kris Jenner was like, lip kits. We're going to do lip liner and lipsticks, sell them together and say lips are the new cool thing. And it worked. Kylie Jenner became a billionaire. Everyone in their mother is getting lip filler now. I mean, her power is incredible.
It is pretty.
I immediately thought about Joey from Friends, Itchy Bond lipstick for men. Thank you for that update, by the way. So I'll
You're
give
welcome.
again, like I said, if that's the case and she's that successful, then it was a wise choice for Timothy Chalamet. I don't care about him that much.
Now,
I like him in Dune.
Okay.
Yes.
On the topic of lip filler, and it's a Freedom Friday. and this is no shade at anyone who does this, right? But
Yes.
I am worried
Okay.
that this lip filler trend is making all women look similar to one another.
Like ducks?
Mm.
It's faded. Hasn't it faded? I thought this
I don't
was
know,
a
you
thing
tell
like
me.
a couple of years ago.
It has faded a little bit, definitely. It's like a little bit on the downswing, but now, I mean, everyone's still getting it. It's just less. The look is less.
The look is
Yeah,
less.
I don't like. Yeah, I don't.
That's okay.
I've never.
That's what AK got.
I've
The
never liked
good
it.
Right.
lip filler, you can't tell they have lip filler, right? So if you can tell someone has lip filler, that's a small percentage of people that have lip filler. Most people are getting it, and you can't tell.
That's good.
I think it's one or the other.
Okay.
You know, like, is there anybody that's done lip filler and the nose ring? Is there
Oh,
anybody
Garen.
the septum ring? Because those things seem like they're polar opposites.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think they're different parts of the spectrum.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm not a fan.
Right
I'm
now
not a
it's-
fan of
it's
either.
lip
by the
filler
way.
and then BBLs, right? Like that's big.
Yeah, BBLs are starting to fade though too. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Brazilian butt lift.
Oh,
So where you take
You get
the
injection
fat-
of butt fat into your booty, and
fat from
then you look like you're Brazilian.
Man,
you know?
can people just go with what God gave them? Can we just do that, please? I'm sounding
Nah.
like a curmudgeon old man all of a
Um,
sudden.
Instagram.
You got to looks max.
That's
That's right.
Looks back.
max.
Got to be looks
Yeah.
max.
Be like
Yeah, now it's the
clavicular and
guys.
like bone mashing or whatever he does. He like hits his face with a
Mashing.
mallet to make his bones like I don't know thinner or make his.
No, it like flares up your cheekbones.
Is that
So you
what
get
it
that.
is? So you look more masculine,
You ever see
bro.
the from SpongeBob, the handsome Squidward meme?
So
That's what they're trying to do.
Catherine, would a woman get offended if a man were to question whether or not they've done the lip filler? Is that something that a woman would get offended by if a man were to ask, "Hey, did you do something to your lips?" Is that
Don't ask that.
Is that don't ask that?
I mean, like, no, probably not, because
Okay.
it's not a thing. Now it's kind of like, you know,
I mean,
cool,
it's too late in my
normalized.
case, but I just was curious. I had it happen once. I won't say who it was, but I could
Uh-oh.
clearly tell that I was like, something is different. I don't know what it was, and it was very light. They did it very lightly, but it was just enough to where I noticed because I work with this person a lot. And I was like, hey, and first they dodged the question and they finally copped to it. I go, that makes sense. I'm not crazy.
Did a bee sting your mouth?
Yeah, well, I don't-
Blanket rule is like, you know, just don't say anything.
Yeah, I probably
you
shouldn't
know,
have, yeah.
but I feel like, yeah, not offensive, really.
okay. This
So
one.
popular now.
It was a while ago, by the way. It was a couple of
That's my rule of thumb. Just don't say anything ever. Just
I've come to find out that Botox is very popular with millennial women, apparently, because they start getting wrinkles or whatever. And even out our way in Max's district, there's a handful of places that apparently women get Botox on a regular basis, which is I didn't know that
Out
was a
our
thing.
way? You think people like in rural areas weren't getting Botox?
I guess that surprised me. Yes, yeah. I figured, we were a little bit more natural, less in with the Joneses. All right, we're not metropolitan, but yeah, shout out to like Lindstrom and Chisago Lakes area. Apparently, Botox happens.
It's a burgeoning industry in that in that area, huh?
Apparently, it is.
All right.
Yeah, I just turned 30, like, so now I'm kind of deciding, do I need to start getting
You need
Botox?
to
They
start
call
getting-
it preventative
No,
Botox.
don't ever don't get any Botox. No,
What if,
goodness,
what if
no.
how do you know that I don't have Botox?
I just because I
Maybe I'm
know
all
you don't have
Botoxed up.
you don't have Botox. None of you have Botox. Maybe Isaac, but
Isaac, yeah,
It's
I
a
can tell.
solution for migraines. Okay.
I have a big.
I have heard that.
Yeah, dual
that's
purpose.
real,
that's
right?
legit.
Dual
That's
purpose.
legit.
Yeah.
I know. I'm
sort of.
just no. Don't do. It annoys me more when men do Botox than it does women. That just to me is like, Gary Shandling when he was doing the Botox. He just looked.
But
They look
again,
utterly
you
ridiculous.
are focusing on the tiniest percentage, because if you do Botox correctly, you can't notice.
There is no correct way to do. I'm just kidding.
Well, you can kind
I
of
won't-
notice
I won't,
because
I
you're
won't take that
you
stance.
can kind of notice because you're like, hey, either you have a portrait of yourself in your attic, which the shout out to whatever that reference to that movie is of the witch, or you're using Botox because you're gonna have wrinkles.
Right.
Like that's what happens to your
Hmm.
body. You
age,
get wrinkly.
age gracefully,
So-
people.
So, if you're 50 and you have no wrinkles,
That's the point of Botox.
maybe you're a genetic just anomaly and whatever, or you're a witch, or you're using Botox. Okay, those are your options.
No, the point of Botox is to age gracefully, because the fear is now, like, what if I turn 40 and everyone else was getting Botox for 10 years and I look like a wrinkly
Now I
witch?
look
No,
50.
then you
And
look like a
everyone else looks
normal human
normal.
being. And they all look like a bunch of wax figures that can't
I don't
smile
know.
because their face is stuck because they've done all the Botox. This
all
is,
the
what I would look,
botulism.
this is what I would look like if I was doing the show. We look like this. It's a John Justice show presented by American Experiment, and I can't move my face because I did too much damn Botox. Let's get back to the blaster line.
That's a hilarious
That was a great face.
I've never seen that one.
612-584-4565. You're
Mike
welcome to
from
those.
Clearwater again. Timothy Chalamet's career is over. Anytime a male comes near a Kardashian, they go crazy and they go off the rails.
So he thinks that he's toast because he's out with the
Shout out
the
to
Kardashian.
Shout out to Lamar Odom
and Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, I guess Travis Barker hasn't really went off the deep end.
Oh, he like almost killed some people at his concert.
Oh, did he? Okay, well, I
Well,
stand wrong.
it was an accident. But
Maybe
he caused a mosh pit mob and some people died. It was really
He's been doing that since the 90s. So
well, maybe Chris
He's all
Jenner
huffed up
is
on.
like,
it's only because he's all huffed up on Botox.
not Travis Scott.
Makes him all angry.
Travis Barker, the drummer.
The drummer.
Blink-182.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Travis Scott is a different ex-boyfriend.
And he
Baby
was
daddy.
he
Travis Barker. Yeah. Oh no, I think he's probably a good.
Did everybody?
Yeah, yeah.
You guys just forget? You know we're live, right? You know that we're live.
Kardashian.
You know that
Kardashian
we're
radio.
Lord,
This
we're
Freedom
actually-
Friday.
I can see the number of people that are
Just
watching
dropping
and
off.
listening right now, and I'm like,
We're out.
Suddenly they've just gone off on their own tangent. Yes.
Yes. How about that fraud in
Isaac
Minnesota?
from Isaac's Bathhouse Emporium? Yes.
Shout out Chris Humphreys.
Yeah, yeah,
Minnesota's
Hey,
own.
Minnesota's own.
But he kind of like broke away, and I think his life is relatively normal. That's not famous.
All right, let's get back to the blaster line at 612-584-4565, and you can send those complaints to Katherine Johnson at AmericanExperiment.org.
Okay.
Two things. The lip fillers and the big baggy jeans are the grossest trends for women lately. And second of all, on the voter ID fraud thing. So we have such crazy voter ID laws. It's going to be really hard to win to be able to change the crazy voter ID laws. Do we have enough to make it too big to rig with all this crazy being able to vouch for 8 people and all that stuff?
Sure you can.
Happy Freedom Friday. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll get into more of this in just a moment, but you absolutely can. When you look at the percentage of individuals that get out to vote, when you look at the people and the number of individuals that go to vote, primaries or general elections, there are plenty of individuals out there, if you can get them to vote, to overcome what we've been talking about. The question is, how do you get those people out to vote? But there are plenty of voters out there you can go in and tap into. So I want to continue on this and get to the James O'Keefe video because I want everybody's thoughts here on a Freedom Friday. Katherine Johnson, Max Reimer, and A.K. Kamara. Isaac is producing the show this morning. I do want to take a moment, though, and just mention a new sponsor to the show, MiniLeaf and MiniLeaf.com. Thank you so much for hopping on board. If you're interested in advertising, by the way, you can email me, john.justice@AmericanExperiment.org, and I will get you hooked up with the proper individuals. But Eric and his wife run MiniLeaf locally. Fantastic products. We're talking about the night gummies that I swear by. They get me a good night's sleep every night. The fun gummies, the spooky MiniLeaf tonics as well, and the Triple Diamond Pain Cream, all available at MINNELEAF.com. And as I mentioned earlier, MiniLeaf's actually going to be out at the fights in Canterbury Park tomorrow night. So head on by if you're heading out to the fights at Canterbury Park. Of the group here, AK would be the one I think would be going to the fight. You ever go to the fights? AK?
No.
Okay.
I watch anime.
Oh, okay.
Catch up on
Catherine,
on my lore.
yes.
I have been to many a local boxing match.
Oh, have
in case
you
anyone
really?
was wondering, just to
Really?
break some stereotypes. Yeah.
Wow.
My
You
brother
are truly a wild card.
My brother manages a couple of local boxers, and he has fighters sometimes in these, the Ignite fights. I've never been to Canterbury, but I've
There we
been
go.
to
That's
like
where
the
they're gonna be.
Armory and a lot of different places. They're really fun, actually. The crowd, very diverse. I mean, just so interesting. Like, you know, I don't know, all kinds of people you would never expect to see, and it's fascinating. And the fighters are fun. I love them.
I've seen a couple fights too.
Have you?
In Minneapolis.
Okay. between
6 p.m.
Muddy and the Villet.
The Villet.
The Villet. We're just going to call him that. It is the Ignite Fights 114, Saturday night, Canterbury Park. MiniLeaf will be there. Be sure to stop by the booth. Say hi to Eric for me when you're there. He loves to hear from friends of the show. And head on over to MINNELEAF.com and get yourself some of the fantastic products available there. All right, let's go here. And thank you to everybody who has shared this with me because everybody has shared it with me. James O'Keefe did an undercover operation to expose Minnesota's corrupt vouching system. According to the law, one registered Minnesota voter can vouch up to 8 persons, and those 8 people do not need an ID. Here is about a minute 40 of the video of James O'Keefe going to the polling location where he's so he's got an individual who's dressed up as a Muslim woman. And
Cam
then,
Higbee.
And then that's Cam Higbee. And then he was dressed up as, how would you describe how?
As a sheik.
Just as a sheik. Okay. Just
Or
as
an imam.
Okay.
Like
Gotcha.
that.
All right. So here is a bit of the audio from the video that's been making the rounds and has gone viral at this point.
Say that I'm vouching for them. The name is William Lawrence. The question about the vouching program, vouching. I can vouch for them, but they are not registered. That's okay. That's fine. Can I bring 5 more from up to 8 people? Okay, that's a good thing. We go back and we get Krishna and Ernesto and Mohammed. In Minnesota, you can show up on Election Day and vouch for up to 8 unregistered voters. Members of the Justice League dress up in traditional Muslim attire, including a transgender wearing a burqa, and put this vouching law to an extreme test on primary day, August 11th.
Gonna be a baller, shot caller, 20-inch blades on the Impala.
The vouching.
You're vouching for.
I vouch for them.
Oh, great.
Is that okay?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, if you're all in the same precinct,
Yes.
and you are already registered, which it looks like you are, then you can vouch for them as ID for them.
Oh, good. She says to me, I say they do not need ID. She says, you are the ID. He is the ID. See, I am the ID. And no ID needed. I just vouch for them.
But
It's
you're
good.
the ID.
I am the ID. It's good. How many people may I vouch for?
What is it? It's
8?
I thought it was 6. 8.
I can vouch for 8 people? 8 people, no ID. We come right back. Thank you. Most poll workers we visited were willing to let us vouch with no questions asked, even when presented with the most absurd situation imaginable. While other poll workers did take issue with our investigation, revealing their awareness that something about this vouching system is deeply flawed or wrong. Yet for some reason, they don't want us to.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong on this. Because this James O'Keefe video reminds me a lot of what happened with Nick Shirley. Credit to both of them. But this isn't necessarily the exposure of something that we weren't already completely aware of. This is basically just proof of concept of the concern that we've had over vouching for individuals. And I only say that, okay, because I don't want anybody, please do not mistake my sort of clarification on what's actually taking place here as me not being appreciative or me saying this isn't a big deal, because a lot of people out there are going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. What is going on? How, and everybody's freaking out. And I'm kind of like, whoa, hold on. Time out, flag on the field. This is something that's legal here in Minnesota. He's just showing how this particular vouching circumstance works out. And let me add one more thing, and then I'll hand it over to our guests this morning, A.K. Kamara, Max Reimer, and Katherine Johnson. So a couple of comments under this initial video. Somebody had said, you can make up just 8 names, vouch for them, vote, and then go to the next precinct, make up 8 more names, vouch for them, and vote ad nauseum. And then somebody responded to that saying, you can't just make up the names. They need to be registered voters. You need to verify the name and the address. What was filmed was confirming that the vouching law exists. But the idea that they can go from precinct to precinct to precinct may not necessarily be true. So I hand it over to you guys. Whoever wants to start, AK, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'll take the first crack at it.
Is that assessment correct on this? I mean, this isn't, again, anything new. He's just basically demonstrating how this process works.
So the vouching system is meant to say, if you don't have any other proof of residency, you can vouch for up to 8 people. And the idea was, okay, I know my neighbors. I clearly see that they live there. So I'm going to come and vouch for them if I am the registered voter. And that's the way that it's supposed to work. You can't vote for them. You just are saying they don't have proof of residency at all. They don't have a utility bill. They don't have anything to show where they live. I am vouching for them. Now, could you do that to multiple precincts, multiple locations? Yeah, but that's already illegal because you can only vouch for the area that you are registered to vote, and you can only vouch for up to 8 people. Again, the way that this is abused and what we've alleged for since I became a Republican in 2006 in Minnesota is that people are just going multiple places and vouching all over for people that don't live there at all. You still technically are breaking the law if you vote in an area that you don't live, but that's what the vouching is for. And that's where we often say this is a ridiculous voter registration tool. And the way that it initially was made is like if you have neighbors that you know super, super well, and I think it's an absurdity. And James O'Keefe is just showing how absurd it really is in practice. And he actually did this before back in 2016. Him and Laura Loomer, or maybe 2018, came to Minnesota.
It's 2018.
And they like did the same exact thing. It's just that it kind of leaves people's mindset. And I think it should just make people, hyper vigilant to do what I said earlier. Get involved with election integrity efforts, because if there's a bunch of people that are watching, there's going to be far less likelihood that people are going to openly break the law. They're breaking the law. Make no mistake. It's just, are they going to be prosecuted and are they going to be caught? But if you have a bunch of eyes out there, it makes that less likely.
Well, keep in mind too. So when you vouch for those 8 people, what you're doing in effect is when you vote on election day, you become a registered voter, right? So when you vouch for 8 people, one of those 8 people, if they happen to be real, can vouch for another 8 people and another 8 people. And there's this amplification process. I don't think we want to discount what James O'Keefe is doing here, because what James O'Keefe is doing, even though, John, you're right, this is the law of the land. This is legal, what Minnesota statute allows for. But the important part is the reason you're having so many people message you is because so many Minnesotans don't realize that it's gotten this bad. And then, oh, by the way, we have a federal Department of Justice who is looking for every angle that they can tackle to make Minnesota's elections more secure. When I see content get put out this way, or when it's covered on Fox News, I know that that's getting in front of the president to actually take this seriously, because our law allows for it, but we all know it's broken. We all know that it's a rigged game.
Well, and again, to my point before, not to diminish, because I completely agree with you. I think this is when conservatives do a good job of utilizing different platforms in order to get the message out on a particular issue. You have shows like mine that talk about these issues. We've been talking about the vouching situation now for forever. I mean, since it's been legal. But not everybody, again, listens to this show or is aware. And then you have an individual like James O'Keefe going out there and giving you the visual aid and informing a lot of individuals of it. I guess the only point that I wanted to add on that, and I'm curious to get Katherine Johnson's thoughts on it, is that I see a lot of people out there making the mistake of saying this is illegal, and it's not. This is legal here in Minnesota. It's not right any more than ballot harvesting is right, but ballot harvesting in a lot of areas of the country is also legal. These are things that we need to undo when we get to individuals into power that understand that this is not the way that we need to be going and conducting our elections. And that's really the only point that I wanted to make, is the individuals out there that thought that he was exposing some major unlawful act in going on in the polls, and that just simply isn't the case.
Yeah, right. It is legal and it's patently absurd. But the other thing is, just to take it to the next step, I think what someone like Steve Simon would say in response to this video is, well, we check these things after the fact. They always say that about, abnormalities, or what if someone went and voted in 2 different locations, which, theoretically shouldn't be possible, but you can think of many situations where it might be possible. Like if you have a student ID and you're in college and you also have an ID, at your home address, you could vote both places. Who's going to catch it? Well, they claim that they catch it after the fact, like months after the election. So then what are they, if there really were enough abnormalities to change the outcome of the election, what are they going to do at that point? Go back and say, just kidding, there were actually so many abnormalities? I don't think so, especially when the DFL has held power in Minnesota for so long. It's Steve Simon in office. What is he going to do? Take back the wins that his own party gets? Absolutely not. So just taking it to the next step, the response from Steve Simon would still be inadequate.
And stuff like this is why election integrity is a burning issue. The number one issue for so many people is because when you say stuff like that, well, after the fact, we're going to audit and certify the election. Well, this is a problem, because we know that no matter what happens, you still have organizations that are calling elections. You still have narratives that are set about who won an election, when you have stuff like this where Steve Simon says, yeah, we'll go back and take a look at that after the votes have already been counted, or when you have certain jurisdictions or states say that we're going to allow mail-in ballots to come in for 2 weeks after an election, it's like, we know that this is the margin where games are played and people find ballots. And the other issue that I don't know how someone like James O'Keefe would expose this, because in order to expose it, it means that you're committing your actual
Breaking
voter
the law.
fraud. But you can be a ballot agent in Minnesota for up to 3 other people, meaning that you can physically turn in an early vote ballot on behalf of somebody you already know, doing that thing with my fingers. So that's another problem that we're going to need to address, that you can just go and and the enforcement mechanism is really lax on this, right? So I can go and turn in AK and all of his family members filled out ballots because I have a pre-existing relationship with AK. Well, literally I can't, because I'm an elected official, but AK could do it for me.
Glad you
right?
cleared that up.
But that's another problem too, where you can't have voter fraud when there is no enforcement mechanism in Minnesota against voter fraud. Well, there is on paper, but like we are not curious enough about voter fraud in Minnesota. And the only way that changes is if we get a Republican trifecta.
Well, along those lines, let's go back to the blaster line this morning here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment, with our in-studio guest this
To
morning.
believe you can outvote election fraud is absurd.
Okay, before she continues on this, because I don't want to wipe out too hard, I just want to say up front, it's not absurd. You look at the last election. Republicans won, and so did the president. Look at the election here. We had the priority in the House, and the DFL only had, just a few seats advantage of it. So I understand your concern. I agree, and I echo your concern. But to make a statement like you can't do this, it makes no logical sense when you consider the outcome of recent elections.
And yes, dead people vote, illegals vote, and people vote multiple times. That's not the problem. The problem is the Dominion voting machines. They are pre-programmed to switch votes. And it was proven with the Haldeman report back in 2022. He specifically said there's no such thing as glitches in the computer system. This is done willfully.
Okay, so I guess to that I go, okay, so what are you going to do about it? I mean, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do about that? I mean, there are plenty of individuals out there who are looking and have been looking to address those issues, and have been now for years. So again, I'd be curious what the ultimate point was. Okay, so you believe that there's fraud going on and we can't go and outvote election fraud. So you're just not going to vote? I just don't understand that.
I think
that mentality.
The last time I looked, it was like 4 or 5 counties in Minnesota use Dominion voting machines, and Hennepin and Ramsey counties are not where you would assume a lot of the fraud or vote switching is taking place. Do not even use the machines that you're talking about. Here's the deal, right? And I'm gonna speak to all of you who are listening about what our chances are in November. Donald Trump got 1,519,000 votes in Minnesota in 2024, the most a Republican has ever gotten in this state by far. I will put my personal I will never come back on the show again if we get 1.519 votes. If Lisa Damuth gets 1.5 million votes in this general election and does not win, I'll shave my head, right? Like, that is how confident I am. If you have that level of turnout in a midterm election, there ain't no amount of fraud, there ain't no amount of anything that's going to overcome an amount like that. I don't think, in Minnesota. I could be wrong. I'm not even looking at historical data. I just feel like if you have presidential level turnout for Republicans in Minnesota, you will win a general election.
There's a lot of, and this was actually, Max, I'm glad you brought that up on a Freedom Friday here on the show. We have Catherine Johnson and AK Kamara with us because this was going to be my next question for the group, and we can ask, and I'll ask it to AK and Catherine. We're going to play those Peggy Flanagan, the national news media interview clips here in just a moment. And I want to preface before I throw it to the other Freedom Friday guests of sort of their just a bit of their thoughts, your guys' thoughts post primary, and where we're at heading into the general. Because I've seen some people do this online and selective hearing. You kind of hear what you want to hear. Nobody on this show this morning has said that it's going to be a slam dunk for any GOP candidate.
No.
I don't believe that it's going to be a slam dunk for any candidate. Just because you're optimistic doesn't mean that, one, you're saying it's going to be a walk-away win for the GOP slate of candidates, or two, that it isn't going to be a difficult road ahead to secure those victories. It just means you have optimism based off of the slate of candidates, and that's where I'm at. For me, this slate of candidates provides the GOP the best opportunity that I have seen in the 10 years that I have been here in Minnesota for the GOP to win coming up this election cycle. So I just wanted to clear that. Nobody is saying it's a slam dunk for anybody. And Catherine Johnson, post primary day, how are your feelings right now?
Feeling good. I think, yeah, to your point, there's still a lot of things working against Republicans. I mean, Trump being in office, of course, his midterm naturally is going to swing to favor Democrats. Also, his favorability ratings are quite low at the current moment. So I think these things are national trends that are going to work against our candidates no matter what. But on the other hand, Minnesota is in a pretty unique situation with having our governor drop out of the race because of a fraud scandal, and having now really, really solid candidates on the right running. So I think, yeah, you have to take those things into consideration. Ton of headwinds against us, but that doesn't mean that we don't at least have a chance because of this extremely unique situation we have in Minnesota, where I think a lot of people did wake up and realize that our current leadership was not doing well. One other thing is, even if we don't win our senator or our governor, having strong candidates at the top of the ticket helps everyone down ballot. There are a ton of swing districts. Max can speak to this better than I can. There are many swing districts in Minnesota where these elections are won on 13 votes in Moorhead, say. That's what the trifecta was won by, I believe, right? So when we have strong candidates that people want to turn out and vote for at the top of the ticket, it helps us when it comes to the legislature. And if we can continue to stop some of the stuff that Democrats are doing, that is a plus no matter what, even if we can't get, with the whole state voting, a representative in the Senate.
So I developed an analogy, and I'm going to unveil it to everyone here. Imagine that this election is like trying to cook a gourmet meal that is going to be a Michelin star level meal. First, you have to get all of the good ingredients, right? You have to pick out the best ingredients available. So prior to the primary, you had the opportunity to go and pick your ingredients. And kind of everything had been set up that really amazing ingredients were available. By the primary win, the candidates that were able to organize the best, raise the most money, and turn out the vote in the highest capacity won. So we have now picked the greatest ingredients. So we are able to now proceed to how do you cook that delicious meal. Now, we could drop the ball, turn up the heat too high, and ruin the entire meal. We have all the great ingredients. That's what we have to focus on, is how do we actually put the work in to actually cook these amazing ingredients and turn it into this delicious meal. That's what's ahead of us. But it's going to be hard to do because you have to have all of the expertise. You're going to have to make sure that you have a statewide turnout machine. And I think one of the things that I 100% miscalculated and I didn't understand until actually election night when I was talking to some people, Lisa Dameth was not the endorsed candidate. And because she wasn't, I kept distance because I was supporting our endorsed candidates as a Republican National Committee man. Well, I found out that Lisa Dameth had a turnout machine all across the state. She literally had thousands of people calling and turning out voters, sending out mailers. Michelle Tafoya, the same exact thing. So now they're going to be able to translate that, galvanize everyone together, because ultimately, you said it earlier, Max, I would even double down. If we got 1.5 million Republican votes during this election cycle and we didn't win, I will eat this hat on camera. I will literally eat it. Wow. I will saute it up and I will eat it. I'll put like, I don't know if it's against code, but I'll bring like a Foreman grill and I will season this hat and I will eat it. If we turn out that kind of vote, we're going to win. So back to the original question about the other blaster, and to answer this finally, yes, you can make it too big to rig, because all of the election anomalies that occur, all of the fraud that occurs, still has to be small enough that you are able to plausibly say, yeah, it could have been this or could have been that. Right?
So AK will eat his hat. Max is going to go bald. Catherine, you want to offer up a challenge?
She'll name her first baby after me. Yeah. Boy or girl.
No, I'm not comfortable committing to anything on the air right now. Maybe I'll wear a silly shirt.
I don't blame you. Friend of the show, Scott, has chimed in. He's talking about fraud. We'll go around the room on the Scott Con level of enthusiasm. One least, 5 the most. Isaac from Isaac's Bathhouse Emporium. Where's he going to be?
Give me 4.
Okay, AK.
I'm going to go 3 this time.
Max?
No, if we're talking fraud, if we're talking voter fraud, we're cranking that dial up to 5.
All right.
I was also thinking 5 because of the topic.
All right, let's find
Good morning, John, and Friday morning guests. It drives me crazy to hear all about the election fraud, all the shenanigans, what's happened with mail-in voting and vouching for people voting. It's all Bogota. And the simple thing to do, Republicans in Washington, is Thune and company, you get rid of the filibuster because the Democrats are going to do it when they get in, and you pass the SAVE Act. We're messing around like a third world banana republic. You show up on election day, you show your ID, and you get to vote, period. And the Democrats know that they'll never get in office if you have to do it legally. It's a bunch of garbage.
That couldn't have been a harder 5.
That's a 5.
That couldn't have been a harder 5 if he tried.
That was incredible.
Nicely done there, friend of the show, Scott. Much appreciated. All right, let's go and hear from another friend of the show. Also wants to comment on voting here on the John Justice Show.
Yeah, regarding the election thing, is there a way for state legislators to request a more authoritative federal presence at the polls, considering the amount of fraud that is constantly alleged and the refusal of the Secretary of State to give over the voter rolls, because that's required by federal law. And to date, they still haven't done it. So there is a big question.
Well, listen, you change over the leadership and you can, have a group of individuals here in Minnesota that are more likely to want to work with the federal government. We'll probably go and turn over our voter rolls after the election if the GOP were to win the majority. I think that's what everybody should aim for. So anybody have any further thoughts on the blast?
Yeah, it's a chicken or egg thing, right? Because in order for us to compel Steve Simon or whomever to do anything, that requires legislation and it requires power, right? So it's not a great answer, but I will tell you, it was Representative Quam in the State House, and there were a lot of good small fixes that we were able to get through a tied House when it comes to our elections. But to the blaster's point, yeah, there are ways that we can compel Steve Simon, that we can write legislation, that we can do all sorts of things, but what it requires is not having a DFL roadblock in either the House or the Senate, which is why Catherine mentioned earlier, these down ballot races matter. I just wanted to get back to real quick that just the raw number of votes it takes to win an election like this, to give you guys a sense of scale of this thing. Tim Walz won in 2022 with a low 1.3 million votes in an election environment where it was not a red wave. Actually, in Minnesota, because of the abortion issue, that led us to enough votes statewide to have the trifecta, okay? And even with that, you're talking about a high DFL turnout environment, specifically in Minnesota. Tim Walz won with 1.3 million votes. So again, if we got everybody who voted for Donald Trump back out to vote in this election with 1.5, that is going to be far and away enough in this environment to win.
We'll move into the Peggy Flanagan clips right after the top of the hour here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment. As I mentioned earlier, these clips alone got me excited for this general in a way I didn't expect, just because she is clearly not ready for prime time. Running against Angie Craig is one thing, but now that she's in a general, her lack of experience is on full display. Let me add one element into this, because another reason why I'm excited for this election, just from an entertainment value, is this Eric Pratt facing Matt Little.
Heck yeah.
For Angie Craig's seat. This is going to be a fun one to watch too, because Matt Little is a crazy person.
Yep.
If you followed him at all, go to his X feed, because it is wildly entertaining. But the dude's kind of a nut bar, and I think this is going to be a very, very interesting race to watch. And I'm just curious if you guys want to share some thoughts on it. Feel free.
Matt Little's a crazy person, and God bless Eric Pratt. He knows I love him. Eric Pratt is the opposite of a crazy person. Eric Pratt is about he's a wonderful guy, good family guy. He serves his district well in the state Senate. Eric Pratt, you want to talk about a non-controversial candidate, it's the craziest person the DFL could find versus probably the most normal guy the Republicans could find in that district. That's like the arena we're playing in right now.
Do you think he could we need to raise some money for Pratt so that he can put the TikTok videos that Matt Little has himself made on primetime TV just on a loop. And he'll have it in the bag. I mean, if you haven't seen them, go find this man's TikTok. It's truly, it's disturbing.
Here's what's so fascinating. On analysis, the reason why you're seeing these DSA waves really kind of culminate in Minnesota is that, everyone knows that younger voters tend to lean to the left. And when it comes to a primary, if you can turn out your younger voters, then I think you're going to be great. But I think that you end up hitting a ceiling, whereas in a general election, you get more normal people that come out and vote. And if Matt Little just put out all of his memification stuff that he puts out there, I'm national committee man, I'm not running for Congress. If I was running for Congress, you could blast me with all the silly shenanigans that I do. I'm very cognizant of that. That's why I don't run for Congress. Maybe someday when I'm in my 60s and I'll be like, oh, that was when I was young and dumb or whatever. But Eric Pratt is the statesman that people want. Compare him to Angie Craig in regards to their demeanor. They're pretty straightforward people. Matt Little is a clown meme lord. That's what he is. Which is great for TikTok and, generating revenue there. You show that to your 65-year-old, parents or grandparents, depending on how old you are, they're going to what? This guy wants to be in Congress? That's insane. So, I think that's going to bite them back, and I am here for it. I hope that the next kind of, Cook Political Report and some other analysis after having Peggy Flanagan and Matt Little, I hope that it pushes those races to even toss-up territory, and then we can see some real money starting to flow into Minnesota, which I am here for, because that helps with turnout, which will help make this election too big to rig.
I'll take this opportunity based off of A.K. Kamara's commentary here on a Freedom Friday as we enter into the third hour of the show with Katherine Johnson and also Max Reimer as well. So this fits in nicely here if you guys haven't seen it. On MS Now, Chris Matthews was talking to some of the hosts on MS Now, and the Democrat Party has gotten so radical that you actually have Chris Matthews sounding like a moderate all of a sudden. That's how bad it's gotten as we enter into the third hour here of the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment.
Here's what I think, and I've been thinking about this for days now. The DSA has done a favor to non-DSA Democrats, to regular Democrats who are regular members of the party. They've listed what they believe in. Their chair made that clear. It's in Peggy Noonan's column this week. It's very clear. We're going to get rid of ICE, not just ICE. We're going to get rid of the border. We're not going to have a border anymore. We're not going to effectively control people coming in and out of the country. And so I think we're going to get rid of prisons. We're going to get rid of the Pentagon. We're going to negotiate. Well, what happens when your hostages are your former diplomats, like what happened with President Carter? People take your diplomats hostages. What do you do then? You need an army. You don't like to have an army, but you do need to have one. All these positions can be denied by any regular Democrat. All you have to do is go out there and say, thank you, DSA, for telling us what you believe in. I don't believe in that stuff. and discriminate. Because you can't follow AOC. I like AOC generally, but she came out and said we're just a big tent party. Well, the problem with the big tent defense is every Democrat has to defend all this crap coming from the left. They've got to say, I believe in all this crazy stuff, and that makes me a Democrat. You've got to say, no, I'm not a member of the DSA, and here's why, and make it very clear. So it's going to require politicians to be good politicians and say, here's where I stand.
Right.
This is what I'm a regular Democrat. I'm for labor unions. I'm for opportunity for everybody. I'm for civil rights. I'm for all the things I believe in as a Democrat, but I'm not with this crowd. And I think that's going to be a line that has to be drawn by Democrats, because I'm telling you, the last 6 weeks of this election is going to be an attack on El Sayed and the DSA in New York and the Mamdani, and it's all going to come out and blame every Democrat for everything the DSA is doing. I don't believe in the DSA plan. I don't believe in their checklist of what they believe in. I'll say so. But running for office is going to require that, I think, before the election.
Chris Matthews on MS Now here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment. If you want to take part in our Freedom Friday broadcast, you can email john.justice@americanexperiment.org or leave us a comment, a blast on the blaster line at 612-584-4565.
John Justice takes the line. Star Wars on the speaker shelf and NASCAR on his mind. Cold Zima in a paper cup. He smiles and starts the show. Freedom Friday on the dial, where the loud opinions go. Whoa. If you got truth, bring it in. If you got fire, let it spin. Don't hold back now. Say it clear. They're listening right here. Freedom Friday, raise your voice. Freedom Friday, make your choice. John Justice, open mic. Say it now, say it right. Freedom Friday, let it fly. Freedom Friday, reach the sky. Call the show and tell him why. Freedom Friday. All lights.
The AI overlords, the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment, our house band, as we are officially into the third hour of the Freedom Friday show. We have Katherine Johnson, Representative Max Reimer,
hello,
RNC Committeeman A.K. Kamara, and clips from Peggy Flanagan to share with you this morning. She did an interview with Fox 9. And they also did one with Michelle Tafoya, by the way. I would encourage everybody to go and check out both of those interviews. The interview with Peggy Flanagan is absolutely fascinating. She emphasized the need for healthcare reform, including Medicare for all, and banning prior authorization, advocated for affordable childcare, raising wages, and getting big money out of politics. What is it? Money versus the many. Money over the many. That's what it is. That's right. Flanagan also criticized ICE, calling for dismantling and accountability for its actions in Minnesota. Let's just run through a few of these clips that she was doing on national media. We'll start off with MS Now. She's asked about the fraud and then promptly decided to go and toss Governor Tim Walz under the bus in doing so.
Do you deserve any responsibility, though, Lieutenant Governor, for those fraud schemes that have taken place in your state over the last several years?
I would say, the governor says the buck stops with him. More should have been done sooner, and I agree. And now we know that 100 people have been charged, 60 have been convicted.
Oh, it didn't get any better after that, by the way. So initial thoughts on Peggy Flanagan talking about the fraud.
I love it, man. I made a good meme of Peggy Flanagan kicking Tim Walz under a bus, the Flanagan bus. And I actually used the same meme when Kamala did the same thing to Joe Biden. It's just funny, like they will turn on the person that, basically brought them into the fold, has allowed them to have this like political ascendancy, and they're like, yeah, like he said, the buck stops with him.
Buck stops with him.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
no one believes you. What were you doing? It's the same thing when it came to Kamala. You were the vice president. So if you are at all critical of what the president in that case or the governor in this case, are you saying that you're incompetent? What are you actually saying here?
Yeah.
And it's just funny because clearly it's a rehearsed line.
Yeah.
I believe 100% that Tim Walz probably doesn't like that she did it, but like is okay. Like, yeah, I understand. You know, I'm going to be the whipping post, and hopefully I can kind of take the heat off of you, so everyone continues to attack me and not attack you. But it's hilarious.
Well, and Max, before we get to your thoughts and to Catherine's, but to your point, AK, it kind of raises the specter in my mind, or maybe offers up a little bit more evidence into Governor Tim Walz dropping out. And I think we may have talked about this line when he first did, but to your point, you're right. He ends up being essentially the scapegoat for the individuals that are running. And I think they probably have had a conversation. He probably is like, yeah, I know you guys are all, I'm just going to keep running over me. It's fine. Which is interesting when you juxtapose that next to what he's been doing lately of going out with his and displaying his atrocious golf game. My miniature golf
that's
game.
been weird.
My miniature golf game
That's
is
been weird.
better than his actual golf game. So maybe that's the reason why. Maybe he knew that it was going to be a tough road, and it provides the opportunity of cover for the candidates who are running. Max?
And the biggest gift, and this is why primaries really do matter. The biggest gift was that Angie Craig legitimized this whole conversation. It was her number one point of attack on Peggy Flanagan. The whole time she ran ads against Peggy Flanagan on you, Peggy Flanagan, allowed the fraud. And I will just say, what these interviews, this MS Now and even the Fox, which we'll get into, it sounds like a little bit more, but the Fox 9 interview and the few interviews that Peggy Flanagan has done, what's become very apparent is that Peggy Flanagan is incapable of pivoting to a general election message.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Angie Craig would be 10,000% better on the general election message. Everything she got criticized for, including like the Lake and Riley Act, I guarantee you, because there's good elements of that, and Minnesotans writ large support something like the Lake and Riley Act, Angie Craig would be leaning back into it. She'd be doing a lot of what Amy Klobuchar is doing, where it's just playing on small issues. Peggy Flanagan is incapable of doing that. Peggy Flanagan is going to keep talking about, yes, we need to trans our kids. Yes, we don't want your private health insurance to be a thing anymore. Yes, we want to abolish ICE. We want to abolish federal immigration. She is not capable of getting into a message that appeals to the vast majority of Minnesotans. And this is the beautiful part about somebody like Michelle Tafoya running. Because I said earlier in the show, you have somebody who is aesthetically a moderate, who most people perceive as a moderate. Michelle Tafoya is going to have numerous angles of attack going forward into November.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Max. I think everything about Peggy Flanagan does come off to me as extreme and radical. And she said so many things in the past that are truly insane that I think that will not help her in this race. But like you said, AK, I found it interesting that this was clearly a rehearsed line because it sucks. Like that was the best she could do.
A lot of us. A
What
lot
in
of
the
us.
world?
in
And
that.
she clearly thought about it because she didn't just come up with the buck
No.
stops with me in the moment. You know, she practiced what she was going to say on fraud, and that's what her and her people came up with. Like that doesn't give me a lot of hope for her messaging going forward.
Well, there was one of the recent election cycles, and I'm not going to take credit for this. I heard it from somebody else, but I do tend to agree. And that is, bad candidates will always be bad candidates. You can give them more information. You can get them better at perhaps answering the question. You can train them a little bit, but typically a bad candidate is just that, a bad candidate. And I'm not quite ready to say she's a bad candidate, but she certainly is demonstrating that potentially she falls into that category. Amy Klobuchar, I tend to believe, is a bad candidate. She knows her stuff. Right? She is seasoned. She knows how to do these interviews. but she's not a likable person in any way, shape, or form. The woman is like incapable of smiling, and even when she does smile, it looks like she's angry. And that was clear when she was giving her acceptance speeches. I was like so pleased to see her. Yes, read off your script. Yes, show everybody just how unlikable you are, because I don't think she's a good candidate, even though she is very good at campaigning and very good at doing interviews. And I think what Peggy Flanagan is showing here is that she may indeed be a bad candidate.
And I want to clarify something too, that Tim Walz is not doing this because he's like this guy that's falling on the sword because he just wants to help the cause.
Sure.
No, it's because he already is going to write a book. and I believe that he's delusional enough that he thinks that going into 2028, by him kind of doing this thing that feels like he's sacrificing himself for the party, is going to guarantee him a spot in a cabinet when they think that in 2028 it's going to be AOC or whoever is going to be the Democrat nominee. That's why he's doing this. It is not an altruistic move, but I did see this coming. And if you actually go back and you were to listen to old Freedom Fridays, I talked about this often, that Tim Walz was just basically trying to be the focal point because he is so easy to attack. The thing that we have to stop doing, we have 80 days until the general election. Yes, Tim Walz sucks, but Amy Klobuchar is running for governor and Peggy Flanagan is running for Senate. Everything has to be focused on how culpable they were in the fraud. And as easy as it was, even back during the Biden time, when Biden stepped off, it's like we have to focus on Kamala. And we did a really good job at pivoting. And to your point, John, bad candidates are bad candidates. Kamala Harris was a terrible candidate.
Yeah.
And they tried to make her a thing. Peggy Flanagan the same way. They're going to try and make her a thing. I mean, I like to call her Marge online. You cannot get rid of the fact that she prominently wore a t-shirt that had a K-bar knife that said protect trans kids.
Yep.
Like, this woman is a psychopath. In my opinion, I'm so happy she won by such a large margin. It's going to be so hard for her to pivot to a general election, and that's what she's going to need to do. And I think that's why we really have all the ingredients for this gourmet Michelin star level meal. We just got to cook it right.
Yeah, I think one thing that's interesting is you have two candidates who have run many times for public office, in Peggy Flanagan and in Amy Klobuchar. And in Peggy Flanagan's case, especially, she's never been challenged in a real way. She's never had to run a competitive election. To the extent that she has had to do that, it's just been under the umbrella of Tim Walz. But Amy Klobuchar is the same way. Amy Klobuchar, I still contend that when you have been in D.C. as long as Amy Klobuchar has, this is a town that is full of rumors, that is full of anecdotes, that is full of, the skeletons in that bubble. Amy Klobuchar is a candidate who has really never been vetted, not in a real way, not with money behind it. And I think before November happens, I don't know anything yet, but I think that there's going to be some skeletons that come out about this candidate that we have never heard before, and that maybe media has actively covered for.
Well, I think one of the other problems that Peggy Flanagan is facing is that my understanding is she's never held down like a blue collar job, like, ever.
Oh, probably not.
If you don't, and listen, if you don't have that kind of experience, in life, I mean, it immediately is going to put you at a disadvantage when you're talking about the issues that people face. There's a lack of relatability there. Here's more. So 2 clips from CNN, one talking about ICE and the other about gender affirming care. What's kind of funny about these clips too is that the CNN host doesn't seem to be on board. Like, the CNN host is actually doing a decent job. Yeah. Like, they're actually doing what I say they never do and following up when they get the word salad answers. So here's the first one on ICE.
Talking about if they were abolished, how would it work practically for like a criminal in your state who's here illegally? How would that work practically? Would you think, would that person be arrested and deported, and what agency would do it? I'm just wondering how.
So she's talking about, she asked her about abolishing ICE. They were kind of talking all over each other at the beginning, but she's asking about, you want to abolish ICE. Essentially, what are you going to replace it with? Let me go ahead and play the clip.
Talking about if they were abolished, how would it work practically for like a criminal in your state who's here illegally? How would that work practically? Would you think, would that person be arrested and deported, and what agency would do it? I'm just wondering how that would work.
We need
violent criminals to be held to account, and we need an immigration system. Donald Trump's ICE is completely broken, and it is not the answer. And again, I would just say, while the national media may have moved on, we are still recovering from Operation Metro Surge here. And, you know, the fear, the chaos, it's outrageous. And I think the cruelty is the point.
In the Fox 9 interview, she does that with almost every single question. She gives like a quasi answer as best she can, whatever she remembers based off of the script that was written for. And then she immediately defaults to Trump derangement syndrome. Trump is bad. This is what Trump has done with. She doesn't have an answer for what she would do in replacing ICE. Catherine, your thoughts on this clip?
I'm interested to see how this is going to turn out for Democrats, because they keep bringing up Operation Metro Surge and how insane it was and how much it impacted all of our lives. And I don't know about you guys, but it didn't impact my life one iota at all, like ever. And so I think if you live in the circle of Minneapolis libs who were out every day on the streets protesting and intervening with, you know, the officers trying to do their jobs, maybe you think that this was a huge deal that you'll never get over. I don't think that's how the vast majority of Minnesotans see it whatsoever.
No, it reminds me of a lot of the Kamala Harris campaign, where basically the focus, they kept bringing it back to January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. Trump is a threat to our democracy because of January 6th. And I'm not saying that people are going to forget about Operation Metro Surge, because I happen to think that it did shock the system for a lot of people. I know a lot of Republicans who were like, whoa, we didn't have this in mind. No matter what you thought about it, it is something that sticks in people's minds. That said, Minnesota, election cycle after election cycle, going back to even like 2010 during the Tea Party movement, Minnesota is immune. I won't say completely immune, but in some ways immune to national waves, to federal wave elections, because I think that Minnesota's problems, especially given the current year, are unique to Minnesota. When we did not, other states did not have the fraud problem, for instance, that Minnesota had. So what Peggy Flanagan is trying to do, and even Amy Klobuchar to a certain extent, is leverage this national environment, because that's what everyone else is doing. I'm not sure that's going to play in Minnesota the way that she thinks it is. And again, I'm not gaslighting anybody. We still have a ton of work to do. I'm not saying that we're going to win tomorrow, but I will just say, if you're not addressing the problems that are unique to Minnesota, and you're just saying Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, I'm not sure that's going to work the way you think it will.
Well, and the anti-ICE Operation Metro Surge focus is reaching a point of diminishing return for Democrats, in my opinion. And case in point is something that I found earlier this week. The far left-leaning Minnesota Reformer put out an article, and I saw this in several places, where if you actually go and do some digging over ICE actions, ICE arrested and deported more people in the month of July than since the start of all the operations since Trump got into office. Nobody heard a lick about it because there wasn't any controversy on the street, and the Democrats weren't going out there telling people to go and protest. And I bring this up because the lines that were being used at the time during Metro Surge is that ICE is coming in and destroying our communities. They're dismantling neighborhoods, and they're causing all this and instilling all this fear. And individuals like myself and others were sitting back going, none of this you wouldn't even know this was going on if it wasn't for the fact that Democrats were encouraging individuals, and they bought hook, line, and sinker to go out and act like on the street insurrectionists. Well, they're not doing that anymore. And so ICE has been able to continue their operations, arrest and deport criminal illegal aliens in a record numbers, and nobody even knows about it, which just proves the points that we were making before. And the reason why Democrats aren't doing it is because they know that this is an argument that no longer is going to provide them the political capital that they were getting at the beginning of the year, because it does cross party lines. And to Catherine's point, most people were not directly impacted by the ICE operations. And so now they're not out there pushing anybody to go and protest anymore, because it's not a political winner for them currently. And one last point on that, to the point of diminishing returns, the majority of individuals that actually buy into this Operation Metro Surge continued criticism in ICE, those people are already all voting for Democrats anyways. You're not changing any more hearts and minds. Those opinions are all made up. Before I get into, not made up in terms of they're fake, I mean they've already made up their minds. So just want to be clear on that before people start slamming me with posts. Before I play a blast from the blaster line, anybody have any further comments on this before we get to the next Peggy Flanagan clip too?
So from that last clip, if you listen carefully, she's still using Tim Walz's talking points because she ended like that last little piece with like the point, what'd she say? Pain is the point or whatever. Like that was this line that Walz kept on saying over and over again. So it just, again, it adds on that Marge Flanagan is an awful, awful candidate. But here's the thing, right? I think that outstate, they don't even know what Metro Surge was. Like they hear it, like they read the news, but like they're like, what? It wasn't bad. Even out in Chisago, Lindstrom area, when I talk to people and I work for an insurance agency and they have a lot of people coming in, like it wasn't a thing. A couple of like blue-haired old ladies talked about it at the very, very beginning, but like right now it's not an issue. And thankfully, I hope that they keep on doubling down on a very metro-centric issue, because here's the alternate kind of like vision. People that are outside of the metro really care about the fraud because even their property taxes are going up. And as they see that they're having to put more money into government coffers and there's all this fraud occurring, it has the potential with good campaigning by Republicans to turn out higher than normal levels of voters in already red areas. And I think that if they keep on beating this Metro Surge bad, when you see that the numbers come out just like you stated, John, that we've had more deportations, but they've clearly fixed some of the things that maybe visually were very, very jarring. But the point is that they are executing mass deportation still in a far better way. It completely deflates their argument, because for a while they were going with we won, we beat them back, they left Minnesota. And it's like, oh, we left. Is that why we've deported more people now than before? So I love that they're going to continue to use that attack vector, because they're just not. I think they thought that this would be like a handbasket gift wrapped type of election. That's what I really think they thought. And thankfully, the Trump administration, for all the criticism you can have about the Iran war, they've done a lot of other good domestic stuff that has not really given any more energy. And I hope that continues for the next 80 days, because if we keep it here in Minnesota, the narrative has been set that fraud is bad, and the Democrats are going to have to turn on their own in a real big way and start gutting all of these programs, or at least talking like they're going to, if they actually want to fight back against the fraud narrative.
A.K. Kamara invoked the word here on the John Justice Show presented by American Experiment, and that word is energy.
They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. They, them, energy. This is a public service announcement. Anyone dressed in androgynous outfits, this is a sweet and friendly reminder that you are safe here. Show off your binders.
Show off your binders, yeah. Woo.
Woke 1.0.
Hey, more than there from Brainerd. You clucking chickens are absolutely hysterical today. Peggy and Amy are going to win by crazy record margins, because the majority of Minnesotans do not care about the fraud. They really don't. They think about the life.
Okay. So I'm going to work through this here. I don't take any.
What up, Eric? Awesome.
I don't take anything. I don't think that they take anything that they say seriously, because it makes no logical sense. So there's more here, but I kind of want to work through it. Okay. Because it's a joke. He just says things, or she just says things just to spark a reaction, and it's fine. But first off, just sit back and say Peggy and Amy are going to walk away with and win by crazy record margins. That is a completely ignorant statement to make. You can say you think they're favored. You can say, I think they're going to win, but to not acknowledge at all the candidates the GOP put up and the challenges that they will mount against these candidates is a really ignorant statement to make. When it comes to the fraud, that's absolutely not true. Poll after poll after poll. As a matter of fact, Center of the American Experiment just did a brand new poll. Fraud is the far and away number one issue concerning all of Minnesotans. And I don't care which party that you belong to. I didn't know, Catherine, if you wanted to chime in further on that before.
Well, no, it's absolutely true. We see it in every poll, and you hear it from every person you speak to. I mean, fraud is the number one issue. Even Democrats would agree with that. I don't really know where her talking point is coming from, because it's just not true. And I hear no other Democrats saying that. I also just want to point out that the voice changer was working really hard on that one, because she started going, and it kind of glitched, you know?
Yeah,
So props to the voice changer.
Leaving Alex Paredes' eyes as he was shot in the back 6 times in the spine by a thug who has faced 0 consequences, by the way. They're going to think about the Iran war, the cost of living, price of gas. They're not going to be thinking about the fraud like you guys are obsessed with. And the sooner you come to grips with that, the better.
Okay, hold on. There's more here, but let me just say it also continues to prove the ignorance, because when you're who are you talking about? Look, if you're talking about Democrat voters, okay, I'll give it to you. We're talking about Republican voters
or independents,
right? And those are the individuals that Republicans need to get turned out in droves. So to say this is what voters are going to be concerned about, you're just flat wrong. There may be some concern with GOP voters, but again, we're talking about GOP voter turnout, not Democrats, who I would align some of your statements with.
Tafoya also runs from debates just like Lisa Damuth, so we're not going to...
He said Tafoya runs from debates like Lisa Damuth. Okay. Show your work.
Democrats have been running from debates as well. If you remember, like there was a question about Kamala Harris and whatever. And I personally would love to see Michelle Tafoya versus Marge, because I think that Tafoya would wipe the floor there, because she's a broadcast trained person who's very, very good at bringing up points that are poignant. Whereas Marge has no idea how to do that. She has her talking points. And like Max said earlier, she's never been tested on this level, this scale. And really in this election between Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan, they really never went head to head.
No.
Like you can go and watch some of like these, like they did like forum type of stuff, and it wasn't good.
There is a very big potential that a debate between Flanagan and Tafoya would come off. The closest sort of example I could give would be Vance versus Dim Walz.
I'm telling you.
Very, very similar. Okay, she has more to say.
You guys are not prepared, unfortunately, and they're awfully flawed candidates. Lisa Damuth has no track record or accomplishments besides being Speaker of the House for a little bit. So let's be real. Let's get our game faces on. Have a great day.
I'm so glad that you put your ignorance on full display. I appreciate the fact that you found out how to download the Mixler app and you finally figure out how to listen to the show after 3 weeks. But at a bare minimum, do us all a favor and provide some relevant, cogent arguments and be a little bit in reality. I'm not expecting any foe of the show to become a conservative or a Republican. I expect you to lean into your liberal views, but at the same time, let's have a rational adult conversation about the actual issues and don't just throw out these sort of blanket statements that there's no basis in reality. And the last one that I'll use as the example on that is Lisa Damuth comment about her not having any accomplishments. That was probably the most ignorant statement that the individual could have made on there when you look at what she was able to do within the legislature.
Not only that, okay, Lisa Damuth was able to not let the government shut down for, perpetuity by coming together and having to negotiate with Democrats while also not giving away all of the things that Republicans elected her to go and do. That's a very difficult thing to accomplish. You can have your inside baseball critiques, but clearly she was able to negotiate and actually be Speaker of the House in a very, very effective way, because the other knock would be on her that she, gave away the kitchen sink and Republicans just folded, which literally did not happen. But she was able to get Democrats to at least have to concede. So if you're going to attack Lisa Damuth from the left and say that she's accomplished nothing and done nothing, that is absurd, considering that she had to go against Democrats and kept the government running. The second thing too, bad for Eric or Erica or whatever their name is. Lisa Damuth is the first African-American woman Speaker of the House in Minnesota. How dare you, liberal?
We have one more Peggy Flanagan clip to share from CNN. She's asked about gender-affirming care and if there should be a minimum age attached to it. Here is that
Minnesota
exchange.
law does not set a minimum age for gender-affirming care. Do you believe there should be one?
I mean, I believe that what we need to do is make sure that people have access to health care. frankly, that's one of the reasons, why I've run so hard on Medicare for all and making
What
sure
about
that
gender
we get rid
affirming
of
care in an era? Should there be an age limit?
I think gender affirming care is part of healthcare. People need
Should there be an
access
age limit for it?
to healthcare. I think our law as it stands is a good law. I've
Just say no.
supported it in the past, but I think the real question that people are struggling with is, if I go to the doctor, how am I going to pay that bill? When folks have $16,000, $17,000
so bad at
deductibles,
this.
it's untenable for people. So that is the issue surrounding healthcare that I hear from Minnesotans all across the state.
Okay, so you support the law as is, no limit. So if a 10-year-old wanted it, you would be okay with that?
Let me be clear. Yeah. I want to be clear that these medical
do you want to be clear?
decisions absolutely should be made between a family and their doctor. Period. Full stop.
Wasn't clear on anything.
I want to be clear. Proceeds to say nothing.
Oh, again, it was probably that clip that got me the most excited because, as I said, she's just not ready for prime time,
Yeah.
and that is complete evidence of that.
And that's like with Eric from Brainerd's Blaster comment too. This idea that it's going to be a blowout. There are a lot of big claims in that blast. Okay. And he seems awfully confident. What I'll just say here is that you listen to a clip like that, and all I got to say is, let's just see how it goes, because that was a disaster. And I think that is the best of Peggy Flanagan. I think that is all you will see from now until November is random, stuttering, half thoughts to pretty easy questions. Like, this is another thing where if Angie Craig were the candidate and we're asked that question, it would be the easiest pivot in the world for her.
Yeah.
She'd be like, nope, I'd like to see some restrictions on it. And then guess what? You bury the issue, you appeal to moderate voters. It's the easiest thing in the world. But Peggy's ideology precludes her from going against that narrative.
Yeah, we just need to make sure the national spotlight stays on this race, I think, which Michelle Tafoya has done a great job of because she is a national name. Because what we see here is exactly what we saw with Tim Walz, which is under a national spotlight. He completely crumbles. He doesn't know how to answer questions from an actually adversarial press, because here, when you're a politician on the left in Minnesota, you never have to do that, literally ever. So when you actually get a reporter, even if they're at CNN, who says, well, actually, will you please answer my question? They completely crumble under the pressure. So hopefully Michelle is able to keep this race in the national spotlight. So far, it's working like a charm.
And what I love the most is that, again, she could have leaned in to her, like, I'm pro-transing kids. She could have said, I'm not going to play these games. This is the decision. And she could have come off with a DSA type answer that would have been like, oh, dunking on CNN or whatever it might be. But this just shows how bad of a candidate that she actually is, that she just, like, her brain just go back to talk about healthcare and not even answer the question. Because she could have just said, no, I really don't think, because there's not an age limit on what a decision should be made by your family or whatever. And even though people would be like, oh, I can't believe she doesn't believe that there's not. But she wouldn't answer the question. And it's like, this is how it is.
Answering the question.
Which I am glad that Eric from Brainerd, I hope that you keep that energy and you believe it's a slam dunk and you just sit back at home, and every other person that's aligned with you does the exact same thing. Just,
it's a slam dunk, Eric.
Yeah, coast it, man.
Dunk,
you don't got to don't make phone calls, don't door knock, just let them come and trounce us, and we'll fight like everything that is within us to try and stop this from happening, this inevitability.
And I'm sorry, everybody, but you said it again.
Save them energy. Save them energy.
All right, before we move over to some other items here on the John Justice Show presented by American Experiment, I want to say thank you to Minnieleaf, MINNELEAF.com, for joining the show, helping to put on this program every single day, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9 a.m. Minnieleaf is run locally by Eric and his wife, and their mission is for you to live a better life through their products. Head on over to MINNELEAF.com. I used to have difficulty getting a good night's sleep, and that all changed with the Minnieleaf Night gummies. They taste fantastic, made with all natural ingredients. That was really important to me. You take one before you go to bed, and you'll get a great night's sleep, wake up feeling refreshed. Maybe you're looking for an alternative to your alcoholic beverage of choice. The delicious Spooky Mini Leaf Tonics available there on the website. The Fun Gummies, the Triple Diamond Pain Cream as well. Head on over to MINNELEAF.com to find out more about their products. And Mini Leaf will be at Katherine Johnson's, one of her favorite things to go do, watch dudes fight. Ignite Fights 114 happening at Canterbury Park on Saturday. So Saturday, doors open at 1. So it's I said it was at night. It's in the afternoon. So 1 o'clock, Canterbury Park, Ignite Fights. Mini Leaf will be there. Eric will be there. Swing on by, say hi to him. Tell him that you heard about Mini Leaf here on the John Justice Show presented by American Experiment. I would greatly appreciate it. And head on over to MINNELEAF.com for more information. Several Minnesota counties and cities, including Duluth and Sherburne County, canceled or paused their contracts with the Flock Safety due to concerns over data privacy and the effectiveness of license plate reading cameras. In response, Flock Safety is reducing its default data retention period from 30 days to 7 days and introducing a data filter for more control over data sharing. While these changes are seen as improvements, the privacy concerns remain. I raised this question earlier in the week, and I'm curious with you guys. How is it there's nobody involved when they put these Flock of cameras in place to do the job of what the citizens have done in calling this out? Like, there was nobody around that called into question these privacy concerns before they went and spent the money to put them in place. I feel like they're doing the right thing because I agree with a lot of the concerns that the citizens have over these cameras. It's just one of those circumstances when I was kind of like, couldn't this all have been avoided if there was just somebody that was like, maybe we should, think about this a little further before we go and implement them? And I was curious to get your Freedom Friday thoughts this morning.
Listen, as a guy that understands the way the government typically works, is you just do what you want to and hope that no one really cares. When people start to care, that's when you have to start to act like you care too. So shout out to all the people that have not let this issue die. A lot of things that happen just in our society are about who can basically capture the cultural zeitgeist. And right now, the culture hates data centers and Flock cameras. So yeah, I mean, just kind of address the issues. I've seen some pushback talking about law enforcement and being able to use this to better do their jobs. I just think that most people don't care because of the data concerns. And then you're starting to also see more stories of how law enforcement are abusing these and like stalking people. So yeah, all of those concerns. But shout out to the people like Cicero_MN on X that have kept this alive, and I think literally having an impact by leading kind of a cultural revolution here.
By the way, speaking of an impact, you made Cicero rather, well, first off, two things. One, happy, and then two, famous. Because after your mention of him last week, it was all over, you got a mention from AK on the John Justice Show. So, and that was the individual who I had also seen was probably the most outspoken over the Flock of cameras as well. Max, did you want to chime in on this at all?
No, it's interesting. Like the speed, you're right. The speed of adoption from these municipalities to implement Flock cameras, was interesting to observe, right? Because I know at least locally there were like hearings in North Branch and a couple of other areas about, hey, here's what's going up, here's what they're going to track. I did hear in defense of Flock, not that you'll get from me that often, but there was a local game store in Forest Lake up by me, like that sells trading cards and stuff like that just got robbed a couple of weeks ago. And I was talking to the owner of the store, and they said that they did utilize Flock cameras to trace back the robbers back to an apartment with 9 people in St. Paul. And so there's like an applicable use of the cameras, but it gets back to this fundamental idea of freedom or security. And if you want one or the other, you're not going to get either, right? And I think that's where the Flock discussion really centers around, why people are uncomfortable with it, is because it feels like you're tracking everybody all the time. And Americans, no matter how we change as a country, there is still a rugged individualism. There is still a sense that we have some semblance of privacy. and that's why people are pushing back on it. I would love to know where Amy Klobuchar stands on flock cameras. It would be interesting if a reporter or if somebody who sees Amy Klobuchar at her numerous town halls that I know she's going to have ask her where she stands on flock cameras. This is a former prosecutor.
She was asked yesterday on a different show about her views of boys competing in girl sports, and her pivot on it was stunning. She was just like, well, the individual teams and groups and leagues, they can all decide this for themselves.
Yeah,
they can all. She would not take a stance on it. Bring on the debates.
Can they decide for themselves? Because I just read that the WNBA leadership had a summit where they were trying to determine what a woman was, and like after 12 hours had to recess because they could not determine
what is a woman.
What a woman is.
Yeah, and if you're locally here in the state, the Minnesota State High School League is terrible on this issue and will force you to allow boys to compete in girls' sports. The flock camera thing, I will just say, I was up north this past week, and I'm a big eavesdropper. You know, when I'm out to eat or whatever, I like knowing what's going on around me. And all of a sudden I hear flock cameras, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I am way up north Minnesota, and flock cameras are what this table was discussing behind me, which I thought was super interesting because I am like,
what was the narrative? What was the conversation?
Anti-flock devices. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a woman. I'm a little more on the like security side than the freedom side. I think kind of a female impulse, but I don't know. Hearing that, I was like, okay, this is an issue that is making it outside of just the online conspiracy circles that I kind of thought was the situation. Made me rethink my stance a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned your authoritarian HOA dreams.
Sure.
You would have flock on every 10 feet, and you would track every breaker of the laws.
Yeah. In my HOA. Again, locally. I don't want
not national
president doing this.
Right.
But I would do it in my neighborhood, yes.
I want to, before we switch gears to another topic, I want to go back for just a moment. We were talking about elections. We were talking about ICE earlier, much earlier in the show. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can check out the podcast. That'll be available up on the MixLR app where you're actually listening to the show live. Also across all the major podcast platforms. And you can watch a replay of the show on Facebook and on YouTube at Center of the American Experiment. For some reason, our X feed went down this morning. We were too hot for X this morning. They took us off. But I wanted to bring something up briefly. I did like a bit years ago when talking about border issues. This was when Obama was in office, and I made a comment that we needed to get the Disney Corporation to go and secure our border. Because as somebody who grew up in Southern California, to get in, like to break into Disneyland is like nigh impossible. Like you just can't, you absolutely cannot do it. And I don't know anybody that ever has. You know, it's like trying to steal money from Vegas. You're never going to get away. You're never going to get away with it. Well, now at the park, like their whole system for going in, I mean, they scan your fingerprint. They take a photograph of your face right there as you walk in. There's they have it all decorated nice and it's all fancy, right? It's got the little decor.
He wants your data.
It's this oval. It's like you're looking into the mirror on the wall. You know, and you put your finger on there. It's all, thank you so much. And has little noises and all that. But I'm doing this and I'm going, my gosh, this is what we need for voting. You need these same fingerprint, face, match, the whole 9 yards. The Disney Corporation needs to handle our election integrity.
Oh, could you imagine?
And they need to handle our border security.
And my
They did a
HOA.
good job on the border, but
And my HOA.
And your HOA.
And your HOA.
I'm just
Amazing.
envisioning that Goofy, like they have a little display and Goofy's like, gosh, kids, you want to submit your data?
They could do the state fair, actually. 'Cause
Yeah.
this is a problem they have at the state fair, speaking of the gangs, is like the people just hop a fence. You know, they've got all these security
That's
measures
how
in
you
place
keep
now.
Valet and Muddy out.
Valet and Muddy.
But if you just go to the other side, there's just like these fences that they hop over. So yeah, we need Disney to get
Well,
on
that Disney, and then give them the shot gloves that ICE is going to be.
Yeah,
deploying.
talked about those
I saw-
yesterday.
That's cool.
Those are
by the
awesome.
way. Yeah.
Catherine's like sick.
So
I need a pair of those.
Yeah.
Are you trying to grow a natural garden?
So
I smelled some raw milk in your house.
There was a scooter takeover that took place last week in Minneapolis, and apparently there were plans to have another one in place this weekend. There was just some random dude put it up on TikTok. I don't think he expected to get the response that he was going to get, and just hundreds of individuals showed up. They went and they purchased the Lime scooters, and then they went and they took over downtown Minneapolis. Ended up on I-35. Well, it turns out Lime on Wednesday put restrictions in place to prevent another scooter takeover while banning riders who rode scooters on I-35 last weekend. So not only have they put a geofence restriction over downtown Minneapolis to prevent another scooter takeover, and any riders who went and rented one before and were a part of it during that time, they've been banned from going and renting them. So
wait a second. Okay, I've been on a Lime scooter. I've been a Lime scooter connoisseur in different areas of the country. You can't park those things in like parking lots. It has enough geofencing to make sure you're not parking in a parking lot. You're telling me that Lime allowed you to drive
on 35W?
35W? That's insane.
Yeah, I bet Jason DeRush is super bummed now because, he seemed like online he was very pro scooter takeover. Oh, you guys are just being, get off my lawn. Like, they're just having fun, man.
See, that's
Yeah, Jason DeRucha,
he's
that's
100%
my impersonation of Jason DeRucha.
That's actually the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, I'm so anti anyone who blocks traffic or any kind of imposes on people trying to get somewhere. I mean, haul those people to jail immediately. You should not be able to do that.
Jail.
Look, here's the just a tip for Jason DeRucha, because you're right. It was just an atrocious take.
Yeah.
Of the not a big deal. Nobody got hurt, and then he took a photograph of himself like, I didn't have my car today, so I'm getting on a Lime scooter. It's like, dude, it's okay to admit that you had a bad take. I do it all the time on the show. I did it yesterday, for crying out loud. I was talking about how there wasn't any need for debates anymore because you already know everything about the candidates you can possibly know through the social media and the way that we consume our news now. And I got hammered over it. It's a horrible idea. What happened with Joe Biden? We cannot not have debates. That's so dumb. It's like, yeah, it's a bad take. It's my take. But it's a bad
one.
Just like my take of splitting up the Super Bowl to run the first half on Saturday night, end with the halftime show, and then run the second half on Sunday morning.
For sure.
Or that's a bad take
Terrible
too. It is okay to say that you had a bad take.
Matrix 2 and 3 are good movies.
Those
are
fantastic. I celebrate the whole trilogy.
My take is that Lime scooters are, I'll use the PG version, fruity, too fruity. Men should not be riding. I'm so sorry, Max. I just said he rides one. Men should not be riding on these Lime scooters.
Listen, when I've been on Lime scooters, I'm like, if there's anybody looking at me right now,
don't look at me.
I guarantee you, I'm giving them the ick. Catherine, it's like, it's like Catherine is like, I'm in my jean shorts on a Lime scooter, and Catherine's like, oh, I'm gonna throw up.
So, which two-wheeled vehicle? Okay, Catherine, which two-wheeled vehicle do you have to arrive upon as a man to where it's socially acceptable for you? So like a standard sort of, scooter, obviously out. Lime scooter is out. I imagine a moped's probably out, right?
Out. First of all, unless you're European, I guess maybe there's some exceptions. But first of all, I do want to say that
two-wheeled vehicle meets your standard.
Propelling yourself is better. Okay, there's something particularly fruity about doing zero work and just gliding.
Of course,
it's better to be propelling.
The Razor scooter's fine.
Still bad. No, you need 4 wheels.
No
plus.
2 wheels?
4+.
What about like a motorcycle?
What about a motorcycle?
Okay,
but a Harley.
Fine. Not my deal though. I'm just not a huge fan of the motorcycle.
So,
why do you want to die so badly? That's what I don't understand.
Think about me, all right? With my stature, if I pulled up on a crotch rocket, I would look ridiculous. Okay? It's not my fit. I'd have to drive a big Harley wide, be wearing some leather or something. But if you put me on a little crotch rocket and I'm all hunched over, you would laugh. You'd be like, Mommy, why is that man look so funny on that? Same with the Lime scooter. I'm too big for a Lime scooter. I'd look preposterous on a Lime scooter. So I got to walk, take a lift. I just can't do it. Now, if I had a hoverboard, that's pretty cool. A literal real
0 wheels.
Yeah, I'm saying from Back to the Future too, right? They don't exist yet, but when they do,
it's been so long, and we got through the whole show. We got so.
There are multiple points in this episode.
Very close.
Very good. Where that could have been used.
Very good.
You could absolutely rock a Harley.
Yeah.
If you've anybody that ever seen one of my favorite movies, Armageddon, there's a moment when they're trying to gather up all of Bruce Willis's mining team, and they've spread all across the country. And there's one really big black dude that's in the group, and he's bombing down the highway on a Harley. He's like, "Come get Papa Bear!"
Yeah.
That's totally you. You could absolutely do that. Yeah. I could see you on a Harley, Catherine.
Oh.
Yeah, I could see you. I could see you rocking a Harley.
Thanks.
I have a scooter-related
Not
story
me.
to share with you. No,
I'm not on a Harley.
I can see you on a. You're a Lion scooter, dude. You are. You're
I am.
100%.
You're a Suzuki Kawasaki.
You're 100%.
Rocket. I
I'm
can see
live
that.
scootering.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I'm trying to.
I see better for you, Max, than a live
Thank
scooter.
you.
Isaac, you're
But
a
I don't
tall
care.
fellow. I don't know if I could see you on any two-wheeled vehicle.
No, the center of gravity would be too high.
Yeah, you're too tall of an individual. I don't think that would work for you.
Fluffalo.
So I do have a scooter-related story.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this comes out of St. Anne, Missouri. All right. It was first caught on video from an officer's dash cam. Investigators say officers spotted one Huron Brooks riding an electric scooter, speeding with no lights, and then passing a car on the left. So he was hauling. They say he was driving around cars, into oncoming cars, just driving aggressively and crazy, said the deputy commander from the St. Anne Police Department. Police tried to pull him over, but they say the fast scooter riding suspect refused to stop. We found out later that he had just gotten released from jail about 2 weeks ago. So I'm assuming he didn't want to go back to jail. Officers finally caught Brooks near a couple of avenues. They searched him, and they say they found a pipe and a container of what they believe was methamphetamine.
Oh,
surprise.
Oh, the story keeps going.
way.
Stop moving could be heard as an officer shouted to Brooks in the video police shared with the local 5 on Your Side. What was supposed to be a routine arrest gave the St. Anne officer a sudden scare. "I'm not digging for nothing," the suspect shouted to the officers in the video. You could then hear the female officer scream, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." The suspect's eyes got really big when he saw the officer opening up his drug container. He went to swat it away from the officers trying to destroy the evidence. That's when the meth flew out of the bag and straight into the law enforcement officer's mouth.
Oh, no.
The officer was treated at the scene and at the hospital. Thankfully, she's okay. In fact, she was back on the job the next day. I guess the question is,
Next day. Woo!
Did
She
they
made a lot of arrests.
Did they swallow? I mean, I'm assuming they didn't swallow it. She said it freaked her out more than anything. We're just glad that she was okay. He has a history of felony convictions in other states, by the way. Yeah, so he was on bond for an unlawful firearm in possession. The convicted felon now faces charges including second-degree assault, resisting arrest. So regardless of where the officers are, we thank them for their work, because what a horrible experience to. Could you imagine? It's like when you swallow a fly. Oh, what could happen? But it's meth. It's very scary.
I'm sorry, did that start with him being on a scooter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the beginning.
So the flock cameras didn't pick up the scooters? They don't
No,
have that
and
technology yet?
that must have been a really. I mean, if he's passing cars and stuff, that had to be a
pretty quick.
That had to be a
high horsepower on that scooter.
A fast scooter. I have another somewhat related story. This one comes out of Port Orchard, Washington. A strange arson case in Kitsap County captured on home video showing a man driving a golf cart with a dog and carrying 2 torches as investigators say he set fire that destroyed a home and detached a garage.
Yikes.
Authorities have charged the 47-year-old Sean Hinson with first-degree arson and second-degree assault. The Ring camera recorded the alleged incident and say the homeowner said an alert from the camera helped save his life and his son as they received a notification and were woken up. The neighbor said he was stunned by what he saw. The court documents identified the driver as Hinson, who was seen next to a corgi and holding 2 torches, including a weed torch. This is not the kind of behavior that I would expect anybody that owns a corgi to do.
No, very anti-corgi
What's
behavior.
a weed torch?
Oh, the weed. So weed torches. I guess we wouldn't be familiar. You wouldn't be familiar with them here. So in dry states where you don't have a lot of lawns, and a lot of people do rock lawns, especially like in Arizona. So when the weeds pop up, they actually have torches that you can go instead of going and yanking them out. You go and you torch the weeds as they come up. It's really fun.
Wow. Okay.
It's quite
I was
fun.
thinking like marijuana, so it was
It's funny that the corgi is part of the story. You know that corgi is just sitting there going like, I'm really happy to be here.
Well,
I don't know what's going on.
And corgis are like really. I mean, they're like really expensive.
Are they?
Yeah. I mean, like corgis are like that's a prized I mean, at least as far as I'm concerned, that's like a prize doggy to get. Like, you got a corgi, it's like, you must be doing all right.
Yeah, that dog did not know he was an accomplice to a crime. He was just going, I love my owner. I love going for drives. What is this really warm thing in the back of?
Was this a random act of arson, or was this like some like neighbor beef and he finally had enough? He's like, I guess we're going to kill this family.
Well, in court filings, Hinson said he had ingested some edibles, and then he downed them with Jack Daniels.
I knew there was marijuana involved. Okay.
Yeah, you
he had a psychotic break, and he's like, I guess
you were
the
right.
neighbors.
Yeah. They said that the responding deputy alleged in the same filings that Hinson was unable to maintain a clear and direct conversation. The video captured by neighbors who lived across the street said one individual went to go pound on the neighbor's door to warn him, the homeowner who asked not to be identified, in the phone interview, because he ended up setting fire to the house and it ended up destroying his brand new car. He said everything is gone, bathroom, kitchen, house. Wow. There used to be a comfortable couch to sit on and look out the window, and it's all gone. What a tragedy, just because a guy got all hopped up on marijuana and Jack Daniels.
That's crazy. But listen, these are the dangers of having psychotic induced episodes by THC. Like, people, they joke and they laugh like, oh man, it's a safe drug. For some people, literally causes psychotic breaks. Someone literally just had some alcohol with some weed and decided, I'm going to go kill people. There's no way that in their mind, they didn't think that there were human beings in there. They just probably thought they had to die.
And this is why it's important to really vet the gummies that you are taking. Yeah. And one thing I can say is that we don't know what type of gummy this guy was taking, but I can say for sure that it was not a mini leaf gummy, because a mini leaf gummy is high quality. And John, John's not even paying attention.
I'm absolutely listening.
Trying to give him a plug. I'm pumping an advertiser here, and John is like falling asleep.
Nope. I guess I'll
stop.
I want to sneak in some blasts, so please continue.
Mini Leaf is great. Mini Leaf would not cause you to go on raucous episodes 100%. Where you're trying to burn people's houses down.
So you are absolutely correct in that. All of the Mini Leaf products are third-party tested, and all the results are available online. And I swear by the night gummies. Absolutely.
Yeah,
MINNELEAF.com. I was paying attention, but there's a lot of comments that rolled in. So before we close out a Freedom Friday, let's go ahead and do a bit of a lightning round, and we can respond to several of you who have left a blast to 612-584-4565. We'll start with Greg first here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment.
John, good to see you back on the air. I'm Greg from East Bethel. I don't know if anybody else crunched the numbers from the primary, but Amy Klobuchar got over Lisa DeMuth by over 200,000 votes. Yeah, it's just the primary. But if we don't have over 200,000 Republicans or conservatives come out for the November election, we will be toast.
So we talked about this earlier in the show, and I'll just kind of repeat what I said earlier in the show. When you actually look at the numbers, and feel free to add into any of this after I'm done with my rant here. When you look into the numbers, this was a record-breaking turnout for both parties. That being said, this was definitely a record-breaking primary turnout for the GOP over previous years, where in the DFL, they were actually lower turnout numbers than what we've seen in some recent years. That gap always exists. And so it doesn't mean that the GOP doesn't need to try to increase its turnout machine. We've been talking about that all morning long. But to look at those primary numbers and begin to sort of get worried or concerned, understand this is actually, it sounds counterintuitive, but a good sign that there were this many Republicans that turned out in the primary, despite the difference in the number of Democrats who came out versus Republicans.
And again, just to reiterate, when you're looking at the numbers, when you look at a Republican primary voter versus the base, we'll call that the base of the Republican Party, and the base of Democrats as a percentage, Democrats have a larger base. So you're always going to see a larger percentage turnout for the primary. But you just made the point. The turnout is way higher than ever expected for a midterm election, which means that the base is super fired up. But yeah, you can't compare those numbers. It literally, anyone that has taken a political science class is going to tell you they're not comparable, because there's just a larger core base of Democrat voters that say, I will vote Democrat no matter what, and Republican voters. We already know that. What we were hoping to see was enthusiasm on the right, and enthusiasm is there.
Let's get to a few more thoughts before we close the show out this morning. And I lost my... Oh, here we go. We'll start here on the Blaster line, 612-584-4565.
I love the idea of Disney taking over the border security. Nothing would be greater than a Mickey Mouse statue right at the southern border saying,
Now wait just a minute there, pal. We need to scan your retinas and get your thumbprint.
Amazing.
That was
good.
Back of the day.
Yeah. Blast of the day.
That was fantastic. That is the blast of the day. Brought to you by NutriWave. We'll give it to NutriWave. NutriWave.us. Let's hear from Victor.
Good morning, John and crew. I love how every time Max says, "Oh, I've done this before," Catherine comes out and is like, "That's the worst. I can't believe you. That's so disgusting." Love it. Keep doing it.
I'm repulsive to Catherine.
That has happened a couple times lately.
I have nobody to impress anymore. Listen, I'm not on the market. I never will be. I'm going to wear my jean shorts. I'm going to fly around in a Lime scooter. I might even take it on 35W. Let's see what happens.
And I respect his right to do so. We just might live in different HOAs.
Let's go here.
Somebody please make a meme of AK on a crotch rocket. It will make my day. Thank you.
That could be like the new Elf on the shelf, AK on a crotch rocket.
No one wants to see that, my friends. And that's purely for comedic purposes.
All right. Listen, that wraps up our Freedom Friday edition here at Center of the American Experiment and the John Justice Show. Before I go through my closing comments, we can go around the room. Katherine Johnson, anything that you would like to mention? I know we got our fall briefing coming up with Byron York on September 19th. I encourage everybody to head on over to AmericanExperiment.org to get details on that.
Yeah, it's a great event. A lot of fun. Sovereign Estate Winery in Waconia. So there will be wine, food, and a great speaker, Byron York, and you support Center of the American Experiment. One of the greatest things you can do is give us a donation or attend one of our events. This is one of our only 2 fundraisers of the year. So support us that way, and you are supporting the John Justice Show in doing that. I was processing donations just yesterday, and I saw so many that were marked for the John Justice Show, and we marked those, and we put that money back into this show. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, they are those checks coming to me, or are those
not directly.
Oh, okay.
You know.
So indirectly,
The
right?
show.
Yeah, we can get me a kidney-shaped table.
Yes,
that's for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. We'll need more donations, okay? Those things are pricey.
Representative Max Reimer.
Thank you for having me. Great Freedom Friday. Like I said before, we had talked about Eric Pratt running for Congress. The only plug that I would give is go take a look at his campaign and go support that guy any way you can, because we got a real shot on that one.
AK Kamara, RNC committeeman.
Indeed. You can follow me on X, Instagram, and Facebook at Real AK Kamara. And if you have any suggestions, we are hosting my 14-year-old niece's birthday party, and she's going to have like a dozen other 14-year-olds. If you have suggestions of types of food or things that 14-year-olds like to do these days, someone told me dirty sodas is a thing, so I think we're going to like do some of that. But yeah, go on X, follow me, and shoot me a DM or even a reply of what you think your 14-year-old kids like to do, and then pray for me, because that's I don't know why they wanted to come over to our place, but that's what they wanted to do.
Oh, I thought it was just like a general statement, just like, you know what, and
pray for me.
And
Just
pray
in general.
for me.
Yeah,
Give me, throw some prayers.
yeah.
It's a good plug.
I'll
Some
pray
prayers
for
my
you
way.
too.
Yeah, I'll throw some prayers for you today as well. Isaac of Isaac's Bathhouse Emporium. Anything you want to mention, my friend?
Nothing much.
All right, just running his bathhouse.
Yep, just doing my
That's all.
thing.
Everyone pray for me after this episode, because AK has been drinking this like grape. What is this?
Yeah, what is that?
This is hopefully sponsor one day. Ghost Welch.
Okay.
It literally tastes like the Welch grape juice from your childhood if you are an elder millennial like myself.
Okay.
And it has 300 milligrams of caffeine, and they are delicious.
It's the scent of the fake grape has been wafting this direction
Oh,
for
boy.
hours now. So
It tastes so good.
All right, there you go.
Pray for me as well.
Free plug.
And my headache.
Thank you to Mini Leaf. Thank you to NutriWave. And again, if you want to be a sponsor here on the John Justice Show, drop me an email, john.justice@americanexperimented.org. You can leave a blast anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 612-584-4565. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can get caught up on the podcast. It'll be available on all podcast platforms, of course, on the MixLR app. We encourage you to listen there. You can listen at AmericanExperiment.org, and you go to my page there. You can make a donation and get yourself an embroidered John Justice Show hat, and you can watch the replay of the show on Facebook and on YouTube at Center of the American Experiment. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for another great week here on the John Justice Show presented by American Experiment. God bless. I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Bye.
If it's big, you don't touch it. That's what I was taught.
The red light burns on air. John Justice takes the line. Star Wars on the speaker shelf, and NASCAR on his mind. Cold Seymour in a paper cup. He smiles and starts the show. Freedom Friday on the dial, where the loud opinions go. If you've got truth, bring it in. If you've got fire, let it spin. Don't hold back now. Say it clear. They're listening right here. Freedom Friday, raise your voice. Freedom Friday, make a choice. John Justice, open mic. Say it now, say it right. Freedom Friday, let it fly. Freedom Friday, reach the sky. Call the show and tell him why. Freedom Friday, raise your voice. Freedom Friday, make your choice. John Justice,